Hey fam, welcome to today's stream. Thank you all so much for tuning in. How is everybody doing? As for me, I'm fine. Thank you all so much. I can see comments already. This is going to be interesting. I have so many comments already. Thank you so much, fam. You all amaze me. Your support is overwhelming. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Thank you all. I can see some people are reacting already. Someone says, no, it is not. People just corrupt it to fit their own evil motives. You can literally corrupt anything and use it to control people and make them backward, including culture, business, and even schools. Okay, interesting. So we are going to have this very important and insightful conversation this evening. I have some special guests who will be joining me shortly. I trust they are going to do justice to it. So welcome everybody. As you come in, don't forget to click on the thumb button, give him a thumb up and share it. Very important for everybody of Africa, everybody in to tune in and listen. So share it on your social media, be it on Facebook, on Instagram if possible, and share it on your community tab, on your WhatsApp status, on your on the WhatsApp groups that you belong to. Share them there as well. Let's share it there as well. Rather, let's have more people coming. It's a very important conversation to have, especially in the wake of the prevailing issues that we are facing around the world and in Africa as well. So it's important that we have this conversation. Someone says, great topic. Thank you. Trackwoods also said, I think about all the money saved, not giving it away to these religions. Okay. Why would religion be Africa's undoing when Christianity never got in the way of Europeans and Islam hasn't stopped the Qatar, the Saudis from getting rich? Interesting. This is a very interesting question that you've asked. JGRSB, I'm sure you're still tuned in. So at the point, you would also have the opportunity to come up on the stream and give your own opinions as well, and make your own contribution with regards to this. This question is pertinent that we attempt to answer, because a lot of people have said, well, one of the major problems of Africa is religion. Religion is the reason why Africa is underdeveloped. Religion is the reason why there's corruption in Africa. You know, so many people use religion as the reason why things are the way they are on the continent. So we want to attempt to understand how religion has been Africa's undoing and what we can do differently. So definitely tune in and share. As I've said, someone said, because you were taught Christianity, which is white supremacy, it has nothing to do with the Bible. Matt Jones says that grace religion, this is Hendrix Ismail, says grace religion is the #1 problem in Africa. Most of the religions are foreign to Africa, where we don't see ourselves. The civil war going on in Nigeria have to do with religion. Interesting. So we're going to have guests join us shortly. I just want more people to come in on the stream, in the live stream. This will be interesting. Yes, this is Lisa. Lisa says this will be interesting. Religion in Africa has its pros and cons, but for the most part, it has been used by our oppressors to conquer, divide, and suppress us, unfortunately. Okay. So I love that the conversation is shaping up already. Welcome everybody. Definitely give this stream a thumb up as you come in. Give it a thumb up. Don't forget, and share. Let's have more people. If you're coming here for the first time, definitely subscribe. If you've not subscribed already, do so. Center Star says, there she go. Let's get it popping. Yes. Let's get it popping. Very important. Reeves Guthrie says, Hi sis, hi Reeves, how are you doing? Mosumola Deojo says it isn't. People, let me pin this. It isn't. People use statements like that to excuse incompetence. There are many underlying issues. Okay. Um, let's have, and at any point you're told that you would like to come up and contribute your own opinion and perspective to this conversation, please do so. I'm going to drop the link in the chat room shortly so that you all can click and join. Grace, you already know it's religion. I can go to Africa and be a millionaire of religion. That is Jason Watkins. Jason, I'd like to hear your perspective and why you said that. So just tune in and hang in there. You'll soon join me live. The only time a slave was allowed to read when then when he had a Bible. Okay, Omolola from Las Vegas. Welcome, Omolola. Riri Walker, you're welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, I'm going to have this special guest join shortly. Interesting conversation. So they're joining me shortly. Was my typo? Okay. Slaves Bible. All right, I understand. I understand. Yes, we just started PG rated. We've not gone far. We just started. So everybody, you're welcome. As you come in, share the stream, give it a thumbs up. If you've not subscribed, if this is your first time coming to my channel, do endure or do make sure to subscribe. Don't forget to click the subscribe button, and when you do, tap on that bell. That way, YouTube will notify you each time I upload new videos or do a live stream like I'm doing now. It's very important. Some of you have complained that you don't get notifications from me, so that could be the reason. It's possible that you didn't turn on the bell when you subscribed. And let me also say thank you very much, every one of you who has made donations to my GoFundMe fundraiser to buy equipment. Thank you so much. We are at $600. We are making progress. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. You all are amazing. I mean, your love and support just simply amazes me. Thank you. I'm going to drop the link again in case you've not made donations and you would like to kindly do so. We need a better computer. We need a good microphone. We need good camera and of course a drone, because once the pandemic is over, I'm going to be doing live streams. Excuse me, I'm going to be vlogs like I used to. So definitely make sure to make your donations. Thank you, like I said. So I have one of the guests who has tuned in now. Welcome to the show, Charles. Introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Grace. I'm really, really honored to be invited to this particular discussion. I wonder why you invited me particularly, but, but no
You
problem.
are the right person for it. That's why I invited you.
I know why, but thank you very much for inviting me. My name is Charles, full-time project manager, part-time philosopher. I know that already has some people's eyes rolling, but I am I am a religious person. But hopefully we can have a really nice full discussion about what religion is good for, what it's not the best for, and how it can play a positive role in our lives as Nigerians and Africans and Black people in general.
All right. So thank you. That's it from Charles. So um Charles, the question is, how is religion Africa's undoing? And this question just came about as a result of some of the statements that a lot of people make every once in a while with regards to the issues Africa is dealing with, issues of underdevelopment, incompetence, and all of those. So the question now is, how how is religion Africa's undoing? Because a lot of people, like I said, claim that religion is Africa's undoing in so many ways. So first of all, is that statement the fact? If it is the fact, then how?
Okay. So I think the question is it's a good question.
Oh my goodness. Oh no, this is this is not happening. All right.
Sorry, my apologies. Apologies. It's uh
Okay.
it's it's all my fault. Some people don't realize that I'm on I'm online. Calls are coming in. But as I was saying, can you hear me, Chris?
Yes, I can. Yes,
Okay, excellent.
I
So
can
the
go.
okay, so the point that I was making is that the question itself probably assumes certain things, right? It denies certain, like it sort of in this case, I would like to take a step back and not accuse religion in this particular case. I'd like to say that
It's so unfortunate.
religion is
Charles' network connection is going in and out.
religion is not a problem. And
Okay.
sorry, Grace, may I know we're live, and I'm very sorry for the constant interruptions. Religion,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, is not the cause of Africa's underdevelopment.
Okay.
The way it is practiced may have something to do with the issues we have,
Okay.
but I wouldn't say religion is a cause. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. As somebody earlier said in the stream, other countries also have religious populations, and those countries are doing okay. Why is that? It's probably because religion is placed in the right position in those countries, right? So it has its place in those countries, and then things of development, issues of governance, issues of the general well-being of the citizens have have their own place.
Okay.
Now, religion is something that is personal to each person, right? I could choose today to have a religion that believes just about anything, and that is fine as long as it is my own and I practice it, within my own four walls, and I don't force it on you or anybody else, right? And then when we come to the general square, which is what the nation is, the country is, a general square, where we then have to cooperate on issues of security, issues of governance, how money is going to be spent, how we're going to govern ourselves, what policies, and so on and so forth. We then have to, I can't be bringing my own personal beliefs and saying that you, Grace, must act according to my personal beliefs. Because I must convince you. In order for me to convince you, in order for me to convince you of something, I would have to provide you with some evidence, right? Provide you with some facts, isn't it? Or I
Mm-hmm.
have to play on your emotions. But of course, in any society where you really want to move forward, you want to be convincing people with facts, not just emotions, right? Because as we
Mm-hmm.
can,
So unfortunately, Charles' network is going in and out. I'm joined by another guest, who incidentally also bears the name Charles. So I have two Charleses on the stream today. Charles raised to the power of two. So it's going to be very insightful. Charles also has a YouTube channel. The Charles, please introduce yourself before I go on.
Okay, so
Okay.
so uh, uh, I, my YouTube channel is dedicated to project management. It's called Project Management Africa. We may undergo a name change, but that's it for the right now. So it's a very niche channel. I am a project management professional. I consult under the name Faraday and Orsted Consulting. And I also provide training for people who are looking to get certified as project management professionals. So, and I'm once again, Grace, I'm very sorry for the incessant distractions of my network,
No,
but
it's
I
fine.
hope that I made my initial point.
Yes, you were talking actually, and I love the way you are shaping up the conversation. So just before your network disrupted the conversation, and Charles joined us. He also goes by the name Charles. So Charles,
Oh, there's
kindly
another
introduce
Charles.
yourself.
Sorry, I
Yes.
thought you were talking about Charles.
Yes. So Charles, introduce yourself before we go back to Charles who.
Yeah,
Hello,
thanks.
guys. Grace, I think you do have a thing for Charles's. I don't know what it is you have for Charles's.
I'm telling you,
For
man,
you
she's
to
got
have
the
two
vanilla
Charles
and the
on the
chocolate
show.
Charles.
Okay, so my name is Charles Ekokotu. I also have a YouTube channel as well, where
Great.
I comment on some social issues, especially issues that affect the international community, most particularly politics and all that. So it's an up and coming YouTube channel anyway. But this discussion is something that I really enjoyed. I would really enjoy. I really liked when Grace told me about the discussion, and I think that it is something that I can put my thoughts towards. I had some issues coming in earlier, but I believe I will be able to pick up with time to join the
Yeah.
conversation. So let's just go with the flow and see how it goes.
All right. So Charles who continue,
Okay.
you were making a point, so
Okay.
once you
Yes.
get your point through, we could get to Charles to also make his own point, so we'll alternate the conversation like that. So
Thank
Charles,
you
so
very much.
you're
Thank you
welcome.
very, very much. So just to summarize for Charles who's just coming, as well as anybody who's just joining, I was saying that religion itself, I don't think you can simply say religion is the undoing of anybody or anything. I think like with most things in this world, it is how you use it or how you participate in it or how you practice it that actually makes the difference. That is the reason why some countries that are quite religious are doing well, others that are quite religious are not doing well. And so my point then was that if you look at Nigeria and Africa in general, what you find is that religion being a personal thing, a personal set of beliefs, right? When you come to the public square to make decisions on things of governance, issues of expenditure, issues of the economy, one shouldn't take their own personal religion, which is their own set of beliefs, and then thrust that upon everybody. One would have to convince other people about what is the proper direction for all of us to go. And in convincing other people, the best way to convince people is using facts. And the moment you begin to talk about convincing people with facts, then you're talking about research, you're talking about analysis, you're talking about coming up with clear, figures, data to match up with whatever policy decisions you're asking. And that is the reason why European countries, even countries that have no religion or don't really support religion, and countries that support religion, if you see the underlying thing that brings them development, it's about facts. Somebody mentioned Qatar earlier about the fact that even Qatar, that is a religious country, is moving forward. Well, guess what? The I believe their leader is he called an imam or a sheikh? But I know, or is a sultan. Anyway, the he decided, or he did some research and figured out that Qatar could become a gas giant, right? And so he dedicated a lot of money into research and into development to develop their gas industry so that they would become leaders, world leaders in the gas industry. And that is where Qatar's wealth, kind of exploded from, right? And that was leaders who thought about what direction should we go, what are the facts to back it, what's the business case, and so on and so forth. And so religion has its place as a personal set of beliefs and guidance. But then when you talk about national development, and you bring religion in and make your beliefs the belief, what how people should go, then that's when things kind of go askew. When religion is put in the wrong place.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll come back to you, but then let's have Charles Ekokutu. Charles, what's your take on this topic?
Okay. Well, hearing the other child speak now, I hope we're not going to be agreeing with ourselves throughout this conversation. I really have loved the conversation where one side is taking the opposite stance, and I would really want to have played the devil's advocate, but I have to be true to what I believe. And what I believe is this: is that religion is not so much a problem in Africa in itself as much as how it is practiced. I believe Charles has already said something about it. It is not so much religion as much as it is cultural, because religion is a subset of culture. Culture is all encompassing. So the culture is the how. Take, for example, there is usually this debate on Ghanaian and Nigerian jollof rice, which is better. You understand? It's an eternal debate that keeps going on. And then you ask yourself, what is the difference between these two? Because they definitely taste differently. What's the difference? Is it the ingredients? I doubt so. I think it is more in how they are being prepared. So that's what determines the outcome of why both of them taste differently. So also in this case, our problem in Africa is not religion. Our problem
Mhm.
is how we employ religion as a tool. We have totally missed it. We employ religion in areas where they're not supposed to be employed. We suspend reason. Because if you look at the two major religions in Africa, which are actually imported religions, Christianity on the one hand, Islam on the other hand, I mean, about 45% of people in Africa are actually Muslims. Another 40% are actually Christians. So you have close to 85% of people in Africa very, very religious. When you look at these two religions and you look at their tenets, you see what they teach. They teach love, they teach honesty, they teach truth, they teach values that if people actually employed such values, you will get a fully functional society. But you find out that that is not so in our case, because we, despite what they teach, we find ourselves in this situation. So Africa is this way not because of religion, but in spite of religion. So the religion that is supposed to help us get better, it has not helped us get better, because our cultural basis, the foundation, the how, not what it is, but the how of how we are doing things is very, very wrong. As we go on,
Absolutely.
we'll continue to exchange ideas. Yeah. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't
Okay, so having heard two of you speak, I would like to ask why is that? Because from what you both have said is religion in itself is not bad, but the way religion is practiced in Africa is what makes it appear bad. So the question then is, why is it that religion in Africa is practiced in this manner that is not profitable to to us as Africans, as it is to the Western world where the religion actually, was imported from?
so
I don't know if, okay.
hope you don't mind if I go
no,
first.
you can go. You
Please
can go.
do go on, go on.
So first of all, religion, I mean, this is where maybe I'll begin to be at difference with the other Charles. You see,
Okay.
religion,
Love that.
when we talk about religion, we mention Christianity and Islam. Christianity and Islam are very, very recent religions. Very recent. Islam is less than 2,000 years old. Christianity is 2,000 years old. Or even, maybe less, obviously. Now, much before then, you had Judaism. Of course, if you read your Bible or your Torah, you also see that the Jews had conflicts with other people who worship Baal and other gods and so on and so forth. All the while this is happening in the Levant, that is the area, where you have, Israel and in the Middle East, basically. All while this is happening in the Middle East, you've got other religions going on in South America, North America, as well as over in China. Now, when you consider that, first of all, then you can begin to realize that religion is common to all people, right? Why has religion come into existence? It's because if you look at the ancient world, prior to scientific study and scientific understanding of the world, the only way to feel like you were in control of your surroundings was through religion. You see, if there's a big famine, you have no idea that, oh, this famine is being caused by some sort of geological change somewhere, or maybe you're over farming the area, and you leached off all of the nutrients in the soil. So next year things are not growing that well. You now believe that there's some fertility god that has refused to give you, whatever, and you need to feel like you're in control of it, right? It's that feeling of wanting to be in control that you now go to a shaman and then you do a sacrifice and maybe, slaughter a virgin or something on the steps of wherever, and then you feel like, okay, I'm actually able to control this situation, right? So, of course, the feeling of insecurity as well, right? You're going to war, you want to feel strong, so you want to sacrifice to the god of war. And once you sacrifice to him, in your mind you absolutely believe that you're going to win this war, so you go all out and give everything to fight that war, right? So I think it's important to recognize that religions from before played on human insecurities, played on human beings' feeling of lack of control. So it gave people a sense of structure in the world, right? I know if you look at Rome is a classic example. Ancient Rome is a classic example, right? If you lost money, you knew the god you needed to go sacrifice to solve that situation. If your wife couldn't give birth, you knew who you needed to go sacrifice to solve that situation. If you were going to war, you knew who you needed to go sacrifice to solve that situation, right? So that's where the whole religion things come from. Now, when you now fast forward to Christianity, and which is the dominant religion, one of the reasons Christianity is a dominant religion is obviously because it was more of a missionary religion. A lot of religions, most religions that you find in the world are not missionary religions, right? They weren't trying to convert other people, right? They were kind of, this is our thing, especially like Judaism. Judaism was, this is our thing, we're special people, only we have this connection with God, right? Christianity came and said, this is everybody's thing. Anybody can join. You can be one of us, if you believe in Jesus and believe that he died to save you of your sins. So that is the basic principle of Christianity. The next stage is whenever you have any kind of movement, right? I always liken it to a startup, right? And please, I hope nobody's going to think I'm blaspheming here. I like to liken it to a startup in the sense that if you start WhatsApp, right? The inventors of WhatsApp, all they were trying to do was get a whole bunch of people to use WhatsApp, right? Because the idea is if you have enough users, you can eventually figure out how to monetize it, how to use it, right? So nobody's saying that is what the people that started, Christianity, Paul and the other apostles who started Christianity, that was not their aim. But like I said, whenever you have something that is very powerful and a lot of people resonate with it, somebody is going to try and use it to further their own personal, financial, political, or social aims, right? And that, in the exact case of Christianity, that is where Constantine the Great came in. People always say, oh, Constantine the Great, he saw the cross and there was a sign to him that by this sign you shall conquer, right? And then he won the war, so he made the Christianity the religion of the entire Roman state. Yes, so that became the state religion, and that's where much of Christianity got most of the wealth and power, and then began to really spread and conquer. What people don't know in the history is that Constantine actually, I think he either murdered his wife or his mom or something really egregious. And the only religion that promised forgiveness for anything you do if you believe is Christianity. So it was really convenient for him to join this religion and then to promote this religion because it clearly furthered his own aims. It's like, I killed my mom or my wife. I can't remember exactly who, but hey, I'm part of this now. I'm forgiven. I'm good. Everybody should, let's just move past it. And of course, you have countless records in history where you see religion being used as a way of furthering political or social aims, right? And of course, that's when we then come over to the issue of slavery, right? Being used to subjugate slaves by, basically saying, using the right passages to subjugate slaves and so on and so forth, using the right passages to justify colonialism and everything else. And of course, you get to the present age where some, you know, uh, uh, unscrupulous church leaders will use religion to as a power as a tool to enforce power over their congregations and get their congregations to do things that they shouldn't, and go beyond certain areas. So I don't want to say I've spoken quite a bit, but the summary of it is I don't want us to think that the misuse of religion is necessarily just an African thing. I want us to say that, just as uh, my fellow Charles has said, that our culture allows the misuse of religion to probably play a bigger role than it ordinarily should. Other societies, religion can also, go beyond its bounds, but because their culture has, their societies are structured in the way, their institutions are structured in the way as to put religion in its place, then those who seek to use religion are not able to have as much influence over the entire society as they do in Africa. So a political leader here picks up a Bible and then, talks to them and gets them to vote for him and so on and so forth. That doesn't necessarily happen in other societies because those societies have streamlined the debate about their policies and everything to deal with facts. So you can't pick up a Bible, and then convince everybody in Sweden to vote for you. Even with that Bible, you still got to be talking some real numbers and some real facts. So that's that. Forgive my long-windedness. I don't know how to say things in a short way. I apologize.
Okay.
That's fine. So just Charles, just before you go and you have your take, Charles Ekukosu, we've had two more persons join us on the panel. We have the African Unite, we have Brother Nice. They are also on the stream with us now. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We have about 79 persons watching already. Thank you all so much for coming. Brother Nice has dropped down the line. I'm sure he will call back. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and a lot of conversations are going on in the chat room. Thank you all. I will do as much as possible, like I always do, to pin some of the comments here so that we can add your perspectives to the conversation we are having. Meanwhile, share the stream, share to Facebook and all your social media. You know the drill already. Don't forget to give a thumbs up as you come in. There's a mosquito bothering me here. Sorry, it's distracting
Normal
me.
African life.
Welcome to Africa.
Yes, this is Africa, by the way. So we deal with mosquitoes as well. Yeah, so give it a thumbs up, like I've said, and don't forget also click on the link to make your donations. Remember, we're on a drive to buy equipment so that we can improve the quality of our production on this channel. You guys deserve the best, and that's my goal, to give you the best always. So thank you all. Charles, let's have your take as to why
Okay.
religion is not profitable to us in Africa like it is in other parts of the world. to the world.
I think I would find myself agreeing more with the other Charles than I would love to, but it's a conversation, so let's go on. So, as a follow up to what he said about religion, the ills of religion not being unique to Africa, it is very, very true. If you look at Europe in, say, the Dark Ages, where there were the Inquisitions, where there were a lot of things going on, where the Catholics and the Protestants were having a field day with, religious civil war. You will see that there were a lot of things that happened in that period, where even scientists like Copernicus
Mhm.
for speaking certain scientific truths. So it is not something that is unique to Africa. I think it is more of an evolutionary process which we are as an African society, the stage which we are, is what allows. This is reminiscent of middle century Europe. What we are finding now is almost what they had then. But then they evolved past that stage, and then they have
Yeah.
come to a place where they have been able to separate church from state, which in itself derives from somewhat from the Bible. If you look at the words of Jesus Christ when they asked him, "This is a coin of Caesar. Should we pay taxes?" And Jesus Christ responded that said, "Whose face is on it?" He said, "Caesar's." So then give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. So that is the fundamental basis on which you now have what you call the division of the church and the state, where they can now function separately. But in Africa, we as yet have not gotten to that stage. So, but now understanding the ills of religion in Africa, we have to look at it within our sociocultural and historical context. We just finished colonialism, say yesterday. We are still dealing with the issue of, say, of poverty. We're still dealing with the issue of illiteracy. We're still dealing with the issue of diseases. And there's so much challenges with Africa right now that if someone comes with just a little message of hope for the people, they are able to sway the minds of many people and use it to their own gain. So, like he said, you look at a large catchment of people where there is a large following that you're able to milk out something from them. So religion has been used both for financial gains, both for political gains. Look at the crisis in the north right now with Boko Haram and terrorism. It is not so much religion as much as it is political and as much as it is financial, because there are a lot of persons who are so vested that the war effort continues, because when there is war, money is being pumped into the war effort. So a lot of people are getting rich off it. Yes, the food soldiers might be brainwashed in terms of the religious aspect. Go and do this, but it is not so much of religion. So, a lot of all these things, all these issues will be self-resolved if we, as a society, if can be able to tackle the major problems or the little problems of day-to-day activities. If we have sustainable healthcare, if we have good education where people are educated, if you have where where people are not struggling to survive, where they are not struggling to eat from day to day, then a lot of all these issues would automatically go on their own. But the thing is that it is so easy for people to just blame all of Africa's woes on religion. It is so
Yeah.
it's actually a lazy argument, because you
Yeah.
have not thought about it very deeply. Because religion is it's something that is it's kind of inscribed in our DNA. Even those people who say they are not religious, they have some certain religious characteristics to them. They have some certain religious characteristics to them. So we cannot, as Africans, we cannot do away with religion. We have to be able to work with it. And the best way for us to do that is to do a cultural revolution, a cultural reform. What are the values that we want to uphold as a society? What are those values? And I tell you, for good values, for bad values, you can always find someone who will find a justification for it in the scriptures. So if there are good
Yeah.
values, find someone who will get a justification. This is where it says it's in the Bible. Also, for bad values, you find someone who will get a justification. This is where it says in the Bible. So I think we should disabuse our minds from this saying that, oh, religion is the problem of Africa. No, it's not the problem of
Yeah.
Africa. The problem is very, very specifically cultural, which is how we do things, and we have gotten it wrong. So until we fix the major problems in our society, then we're still, it's going to be like a never-ending cycle. I always say something. When I look at a lot of very, very enlightened people, a lot of people who do very well in the in sciences, in philosophy, and all that, you see that there's a tendency towards atheism for people who are very, very intelligent and very brilliant. And the reason is because they have been able to put themselves in a way where they can find the answers to most problems of society aside outside religion. I find myself tempted at times because I am a very rational thinking person. So before I invoke religion in any conversation, I make sure that I've exhausted every other alternative. But for people who are not so inclined or who are not so enlightened, um, it is very easy for them to fall into that religious trap. So a lot of education has to go in to change this narrative for people that look, uh, religion has its place. It is just one subset of how we can get things going, but it is not the only thing. In that way, people will stop killing themselves in the name of religion. And in that way, when people are also educated, they know the scriptures for themselves. They will not just take the words of a certain preacher at face value and all that. So that's just my take on how African religion at this point, how it is impacting differently as compared to other parts of the world.
Okay, thank you so much, Charles. African Unite, you've been standing by. Thank you so much for holding on. What's the this?
Thank you, Grace, for having me.
The African Unite.
Um,
Can you?
yeah. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
we can.
yes. Welcome.
Okay.
Hello.
Thank you so much. All right.
Oh,
First of all, I'm a new YouTuber actually, and I just dropped a song for especially dedicated to all Black people
is it my
across the
network?
globe. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
yeah, we
I
can hear
can,
you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So, talking about religion and if it is how it has affected Africans, we should go back to history because you can't take it out of our lives, right? So history comes into play when we are talking about religion. I agree with the first caller. He talked about religion is is always politicized. All through history, you'll find out that religion has always been politicized, right? Now, one of African major problem is religion. Now, before slavery, when the colonizers when they came, right, they saw that Africans were very organized, coordinated, and very spiritual. They tried everything possible to make sure that how can they, penetrate into these people. It was very, very difficult because of their spirituality. So they had to look for something similar to, they had to use their spirituality to hold them. And that is where religion came into play. Do you know that when the quote unquote missionaries, they came to West Africa, they destroyed every civilization that we had and our ancestors built. These are the quote unquote missionaries. Are you aware in the southeastern part of Nigeria that there was a pyramid that is exactly the same with the pyramid of Egypt, the step-by-step pyramid of Egypt, built exactly the same? Who destroyed it is the quote-unquote missionaries.
where was this pyramid located? If
What?
Like
It's
which
called the
which?
it's called the Misuse pyramid. It's located
Wow.
in I think either not in Imo State or what one of the states. I can't really like this, but just Google
It's incredible.
Misuse
It's
pyramid.
incredible that we don't get taught this, right? About our own
Yeah.
history.
Okay, so
Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you. Sorry to
oh,
interrupt you.
okay, so I want you to know that you should ask yourself, why is history removed from your curriculum? You're taught European history and you're not taught African history. Hence, the second caller is talking about religion is not the problem. Religion is absolutely the problem we are having today. Because if we go back to history, you will find out that we had different gods. You have the Oduduwa. I'm using Nigeria now, for instance, right? You have the Oduduwa and then you have the Amadioas, right?
Yeah.
Now, historically, you will find out that we had kings. These kings, if you want to compare them in present day governance or rulership, they should be the president. They have integrity. They are men of their words, right? But, and listen to this. Crimes were very low. Crimes were very, very low during those days. Because if you steal, you're summoned to the shrine, and this chief priest will ask you, did you do this or not? Forgiveness is a sin all through African uh, um, uh, um, culture and tradition. There's nothing like forgiveness. And let's define what forgiveness. Religion taught you to forgive. That if they slap you here, you better turn this left cheek for another hard slap. That's what religion taught you. But in African ancient culture and tradition, there was no forgiveness. Forgiveness is justice. Forgiveness is standing for the truth and defending the truth. But today, religion it has crippled our critical minds to think for ourselves. It is the same religion that is making you to forgive your corrupt leaders and not being accountable, holding them accountable. The second caller talked about poverty. We are not poor. Don't even go there. The richest continent in the world, we are not poor. We have all the natural resources. We are on live stream today. We are using this phone. It's because of African natural resources that this phone is working, that your laptop is working. And how are you telling yourself that you're poor? Who has put that in your head? Is this Eurocentric ideologies, brainwashed mentality? How has religion helped us as a people? I'm coming. Let me just make my point. I'm not going to take too much of your time. How has religion helped us as a people? They presented to you. They make sure that they persuaded you that your spirituality and your gods are fetish and evil. Therefore, you should turn away, and they presented to you their image, someone in their image, because trust me, the image they brought to West Africa was white Jesus. Even if it was written in the Bible that he was a dark brown skinned man, these Africans have it in their mental, like in their head, that this man is what? Is white. And look at all the pictures. Go to Facebook. All Africans, they attach themselves with white Jesus and say, my Lord and my Savior. So disgusting. This is Caesar Borgia, a man who is living. He is the Jesus, the image that was sold to you. When you're talking about Christianity, do not forget that all these things started 1884 to 1885 in Berlin, when they sat for the scramble of Africa. They've already planned how they were going to deal with Africans. They came, where is the Jesus during colonization? Where was that Jesus? Where was the religion? Did it help you? No. And it will interest you to know that slavery is in the Bible. Who put that slavery in the Bible? We should think critically and ask questions. We accepted the white man's ideology, the white man's religion, without questioning it, but we rejected our spirituality very fast. And today I heard a story that in Nigeria, someone was burnt because the person was practicing their spirituality, their original spirituality. The person was burnt.
Where?
Right? I heard a story. I saw that story. It's coming out from Nigeria.
Interesting.
That was I couldn't watch. That was really sad.
When did this happen?
Somebody was discovered.
It was recent because they said, quote unquote, the person is a witch.
Oh.
Right?
Interesting.
Because religion, Christianity and Islam, they conquered the Christianity, religion came first into Africa in Egypt, right? In the first, I think, or second century, I guess. And then it spread around.
First century.
But listen, first, yeah. Thank you for that. So, when they presented an image of themselves. So today in Africa, you bow down to the Chinese because of their color, the color of their skin. Because when you look at that skin color, it's similar to the image they gave to you. You bow down to Europeans because you think that they know better. You think that they know that they are wiser.
Okay.
But do you know that
Unite?
Okay. All right.
There are a lot of reactions following your submissions already. A lot of reactions in the chat room, and I can see people's facial reactions. So just hold that thought. Let's we have another person who has joined us on the stream. Welcome, Obos 13. Thank you for joining us. Brother Nice has been standing by, so let's have Brother Nice make his own contribution quickly before we go to Obos 13.
Remind us the question again.
Okay, so the fundamental question we are attempting to answer or to discuss is, how has religion been the undoing of Africa? Because a lot of people claim that religion is the problem of Africa. Religion is a reason why Africa is underdeveloped. Religion is a reason why there's incompetence. Religion is a reason why many religions of their continent. So we are to that is so, how it has happened, what we can do differently. So that's what we are discussing so far. Been an interesting conversation. I can see my sister African Tigress has also joined already. She's here. So let's have your take, Brother Nice. By the way, thank you all so much for tuning in. If you've not shared the stream, make sure to do so and give it a thumbs up. You know how we do already. And we have our link in the chat room where you can click to make your donations for the equipment. So I'm going to drop that link again in the chat room while we listen. So welcome, African Tigress. Just hold on. Brother Nice. Oh, it seems Brother Nice has gone off. Okay, so Obos 13, let's have your take on this.
Not being so nice to him today.
Yes, his network is not being nice to him.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Yeah, we are fine. Welcome.
Good. Yeah.
Welcome.
If you can see my face, I'm just waking up. I'm calling from New Zealand, so it's just around 6 a.m. here. So I just wanted to give my points of view before I get ready for work. So, but can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, I'll try to make this as brief as possible, but I think the main points here, which we can see through even the handling of this pandemic that we're seeing at the moment, is that, even though the continent of Africa is one of the, I would say, the least hit continents at the moment. Um, Even with that being said, I remember receiving some disturbing WhatsApp messages being sent through from friends, some relatives still back in Nigeria, from certain, let me say, religious leaders, or gatherings where the amount of misinformation, or weird and wild theories that, if you actually drill down in the science, it doesn't make sense. And because, as I think one of the previous callers said, we're so indoctrinated to not do our own research, not to actually question. We're taught to just, this is what Apostle says, or this is what the Imam says you must follow. Then, even people who would say would be more enlightened, or you'd say, oh, this person is a graduate, or they've got X amount of degrees, they'll be more inclined to just follow like sheep, because from a small age, we've I'm talking specifically Nigeria here, but I guess it could be, Africa wide. We've been taught that, oh, you must not question, the Imam, you must not question the apostle, because they, have got this divine link with God, and therefore what they say is goes. Now, I'm not saying that religion in itself is bad. What I'm saying is that even the God in the religion that you subscribe to, you know, created the human being and created them with a brain. So you've got to add this into the mix. You cannot just blindly follow X, Y, or Z. You need to add some amount of logical thinking to it. And I think that has been undoing. I know we're talking specifically within the African context, but you can see some examples of this from the other parts of the world where they haven't separated that, let's say, religion and state. You look at the likes of Indonesia, look at the likes of Saudi Arabia, look at the likes of Iran, where the overall leader of the country is a religious leader. It means that if that person says that, okay, we're going to do X or Y, it's likely coming from a religious perspective, whether that has some political aspects to it or not. Who knows? But because that person is also the leader, that means it pushes the country in a certain direction. And, you don't want to get to a stage where that is happening within African countries, because, as one of the callers said, we are, I would say, behind in quite a lot of aspects in terms of, say, technology development, not because we don't have the brain, not because we don't have the skill set, but because many times we are hampered in our way of thinking, because we're told to follow, sort of, I would say, blindly, because, say, if you don't do this, then, you're disrespecting the man of God, or you're going to hell, or whatever. So I think, as one of the callers said, there needs to be a bit of a cultural revolution in the way that we think. We can we can live comfortably with whatever religion we decide to follow, but we need to have it in mind that you cannot just absorb everything. Now we say in the Western world, oh, they don't, they're not religious and all that. No, I live in the Western world. I live in New Zealand, and there's plenty of churches, plenty of, mosque and all that. But the difference is, people, I guess, are allowed to question, and that is where using the brain that God gave you comes into it. So I think until we do that, or until we're allowed to do that without being castigated, that we're going to remain in a similar situation in the African context. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Unfortunately, my network disconnected me all the while you were talking, so I didn't really get
Ah,
much of what you said. But what I got is the fact that the difference between the religion in Africa and that which is in the Western world is the fact that in the West, they are allowed to question um, religious teachings, as opposed to Africa, where religious leaders, you know, put everything on us and we are not allowed to question. That was basically what I was able to make out of your conversation. So,
Hmm.
okay, you are
Yeah,
nodding. That
yeah.
means
I was saying that you can see aspects of that even in the way that this pandemic is being handled in terms of I think we had some offline conversations before where you'd see different WhatsApp messages coming through that, oh, this theory or that theory, and when you actually drill down, you see that there's no scientific basis to it, and you're like, oh, come on, how can people actually believe that? But because they're already told that do not question, apostle has said this, you must do it, and then so let's go along with it. And I think we need to get out of that way of thinking.
okay. Right. Thank you. African Tigress,
Yes.
since Brother Nice, the network has refused to be nice to Brother Nice. Welcome, African Tigress. Guys, by the way, African Tigress is also my sister from Kenya. So, African Tigress, introduce yourself and let's have your take.
Well, as you said, my name is African Tigress, a content creator from Nairobi, Kenya. Some of you could have probably come across my YouTube channel. I've been on this platform a lot of times, and I think, Grace, you've been on my platform a number of times. So today I saw you online. I was like, okay, today is not Sunday because we normally do it on Sunday, but I said I could jump in briefly before I get to do some other work that I need to do. So you are talking on the issue of.
Karibu sana.
Oh, asante sana. So I wonder who's been teaching you Swahili.
You've been teaching me. Okay, go on.
All right, thank you. So are you talking about how religion is Africa's undoing? I think because I will start looking at the religion that is practiced in Africa today. I'll speak for Kenya, for example, because Christianity in Kenya came in the Bible as we have it today came in 1880s, I think. That's in 1883, if I'm not wrong. Before then, people had like some traditional African religions, and we had God in different communities whom they called different names. So when this came, initially it was used as a way. Of course, you knew when even in Africa when we had these kingdoms, communities. Of course, there was sometimes war among communities and all that. Those things happened. Trying to conquer, maybe some community could steal other communities' cows, and people had to go fight, get back their cows and all that. So when it came initially, it came with the missionaries. The first president of the Republic of Kenya said when the missionaries came to Africa, they gave us the Bible, and as we were busy praying, they took the land. So when we opened our eyes, we had the Bible in our hands, and they had the land. And I believe that is what is the greatest standing, because a lot of times, a lot of things that happen to us, a lot of times we treat it badly because of religion, because of the Bible. We say it's okay, God will revenge or something. You know how people say, oh, it's okay, God will revenge. So people would kill you, rape you, whatever, but you'll just leave it all to God. And so it makes me wonder, how good is this? That we just allow ourselves to be abused. Oh, you've been slapped on the left cheek, you need to turn the right cheek so I can be slapped again. I mean, if you slap me the right if you slap me the right cheek, I'm slapping both your teeth. It shouldn't be that. I think it has been used a lot of times to pacify us, and we don't get to question a lot of things. And it's also one of the causes of self-hatred, because what we learn is how Christ or Jesus is portrayed. He's portrayed as white or Arabic, fair skin. In the Bibles that we have in the schools, that's how we learn it. We learn that he's actually a white man and the devil is black. And that kind of sends a message to us So we start hating ourselves. We don't respect. We don't respect ourselves. That's why you find even people go to the point of trying to bleach, trying to look the other way. That's why you find there's even issues with colorism and all that. So I think it's been just used to the Christianity as it is right now. It has been used to pacify us, not to question anything. That is why you find, I've seen very interesting clips on the web whereby a pastor is even beating people, is making people eat grass, is stepping on people's backs and all that. And the next weekend, the church will still be full. The church will still be full. You find even right now we have even Chinese who are also coming. What God do Chinese worship?
African Tigress, please, sorry, I will interrupt you quickly. Power outage. I need to go put on the gen so that we can continue. So while I'm out, just a few minutes, continue with the conversation. African Tigress, when you are done, any other person who wants to go next, please go. I'll be back in a few minutes. Let me put on the gen.
A uniquely
Niger.
African YouTube
Niger.
program. We completely understand. So, African Tigress, I don't know if you mind I don't know whether you are finished yet, because you said something
No,
that really interested me.
I had not finished, but in case you have
No,
a
go
question,
ahead.
you can ask.
Apologize. Go right ahead.
Okay.
I'll keep.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Like at the moment, you even find that the Chinese are coming, they are opening churches, and they are doing exactly what they've been seeing preachers doing. You find people doing fake testimonies, fake miracles, and people believe in that. I think it has been made as I see it sometimes as a tool to just give people false hope. So you live there, sometimes even not even working towards what you want to achieve, saying that God will provide. The same way you find people saying, "Oh, money is the root of evil," or "People who are rich are not happy," and those are some of the statements that you'll always hear these pastors or these people who are deep into this sort of religion trying to state. So they'll talk about, "Oh, my richness or my wealth is in heaven," like where like my wealth is in heaven, my what? So you live a very miserable life, but why can't you make this make your life here on earth a little heaven? Like why can't you live that here? So you find people becoming so lazy, believing on and wasting a lot of time in the church, doing nothing really for their life, hoping that maybe God or man, like whatever they want, will drop from heaven are like manna. So because they've left it all to God to handle it. The very same pastors will tell you on how the pastor needs some private jet, and they'll tell you on how if you contribute, you'll get it, tenfold or whatever. The same way they'll pay people to come and give testimonies. I've been in a certain about 2-3 years ago. I was in a certain. My friend invited me to a certain religious gathering with very famous Kenyan, like among the wealthiest Kenyan pastors, and I remember the testimonies that people were giving like were crazy. Somebody came and they said, "Oh, last time here, they call them father and mother. That's how they call the pastors. Or last time I was here when they call them mom and dad. Yes, last time when I was here, when mom and dad called people to give whatever they had, I gave all my offerings." So you find somebody gave all the money that they had, including their transport, and then they walked back on foot 30 kilometers. Goodness, what kind of punishment is that? If that's the case, then this God must be very selfish. If he has to punish us that much in order for us to get whatever we want, then he is the most selfish person on earth. You're walking down like the place where the person was saying she walked the distance. It's very dangerous and risky as well. So God has to put you through that in order to give you a job. But I believe all these things, they just pay people, and a lot of people don't get to see it. Fake miracles. You see a pastor telling you, "Oh, you are healed of this." The next, "Oh, don't go for your dialysis anymore. Don't go for this. You are healed." 1 month later, you die. But they will never talk about that. So that's just my take on religion. Maybe you can say what you wanted to add.
Oh, great. Thank you very much, African Tigress. I think you've really painted a very vivid picture of how religion is being misused in Africa presently. Before you came on, I think Charles, the other Charles, had also spoken and mentioned the fact that religion really can really be misused in a place where there is a lack of hope, where there's a lot of hopelessness, where people don't feel like they have any control. And prior to Charles, I also mentioned the fact that if you even go back to the beginnings of religion, right? So leaving just Christianity and Islam and just pulling back and seeing the entirety of what religion is, right? There were religions in South America, North America, there were religions in China, there were religions everywhere before, long before Christianity. And what did they all have in common? They made people feel as though they had a control over their destiny. So if there was a famine and the shaman said that you need to sacrifice one virgin and therefore this will then bring rains, then somebody would do it and then feel okay, you know, expecting rain to come and so on and so forth. Now, bringing it back to bringing together what you said and what Charles said before, which is that most of those people giving those testimonies in that church, or most of the people coming to that church, are coming because they probably feel hopeless, they feel powerless, and they're trying to change their situation. Now, how does this differ to Western societies? Now, in a Western society, if you have a problem, my brother in New Zealand can probably tell me if I'm right or wrong. But if there is a problem on your street, a pothole or something, right, you would report to some municipal authority, right, if I'm not mistaken. And that municipal authority would have to do something about that particular pothole. If they don't do something about it and potholes continue to develop on the road, at the next election, you get those people out of the office, right? However, in a situation like Nigeria, where I can't even go to see my local government chairman because he has taken the local government allocation and used it to fly abroad, and he's in London and his house is guarded by 10 dogs and policemen in front, I'm going to feel like my only hope is to leave this neighborhood. Now, to leave this neighborhood, I'm then going to start thinking, oh, I need to get a lot of money. I can't see how I'm going to get the kind of money that all these politicians have stolen in their back pocket. So I begin to look for extraordinary, incredible means that have no real logical path to them, right? Either doing some sort of, because when there's a disconnect between the large amount of money that I need and where I am, I can't see the path, then I have to start looking for something extraordinary and abstract to look after. So that is how religion, I believe, begins to work. Now, let's then take it back. Once again, I like to deal with root causes and not symptoms. Religion is just here as a tool that people are using to try and control us, right? And it has always been a tool that people have used to try and control populations. Yep. It was a tool used by, like I said, the Aztecs and the Olmecs, as well as any other civilization you can find. There's always a religious head who uses the religion that is prevailing to control people. However, where did it change for these Western societies? What was that watershed point that moved from, you had in Europe, you had them having an inquisition, right? Charles mentioned it, that even in Western Europe, you had inquisitions and religion was controlling the day. Now, where it changed for them was the advent of the scientific method. Now, the scientific method is just a question of making decisions based on facts. So all of us, leave your beliefs to one side. What are religion? Religion is just your own personal set of beliefs, right? I believe that, if I believe in this person, I go to heaven. This other person believes that he needs to pray 5 times a day. The other person believes that he has an idol in his village that if he did not kill a chicken for the idol, then he cannot get a job in the city. All of them are all personal, private beliefs, and nobody needs to ridicule anybody's belief. However, when it comes to making decisions, any society that makes decisions based on facts, that leaves everybody's religion to one side and makes decisions based on facts, is a society that then begins to develop. That is how these Western societies developed to the point where they had the means, they had the structures and everything else to come and colonize us. Now, they also recognized that religion was a powerful tool for colonizing people, for controlling their minds. And so they used the religion. But really, what put us at their mercy was the fact that we had not yet developed the scientific method in doing things. When they came, right, we still had an evil forest on that side. So let's not make it like, oh, before the colonialists came, we had some sort of, we had reached, everything was great, we had reached the promised land. The truth is that we hadn't yet developed the scientific method, and that is what kind of set us back behind them, right? There was a evil forest, and all we knew was that you're not meant to enter that evil forest. It's terrible. If you go there, you will die. Nobody questioned it. The Dibia said so, and that's how we took it. However, when the colonialists came, they said, what is there? We said, that's the evil forest. He said, what is inside? We don't know, but if you go, you will die. Say, waiting with this. He started going with his prospectors, cutting through the grass. All of a sudden, he discovered some gold. He now got you people to build him railway, and he was moving that gold out to the port and selling it over to Europe. The only thing that he had that you did not have was the scientific method. And let me prove something to you. If you notice that every society that has decided to use the scientific method in making decisions has developed, regardless of their religion. Grace, I've also had my power cut here, but I'll continue. I'll continue. As I was saying, so as I was saying, if you look at the fact that Japan was not developed, right? The US sailed a ship over there and said, you must trade with us. They had what? They had samurai and the rest of them, all these things. And the US bombarded Tokyo for some, bombarded them and told them, by the time we come back next year, you must trade with us. The emperor said, so these people have all this technology and no, my society must modernize. How did they do it? He began to modernize his society. He turned from samurai to standing army. He started getting all their technology, reverse engineering it to see how it works and figuring out how to make it own, right? Even the Chinese were talking about. The Chinese Revolution started when, I can't remember which of their premiers, went to the US in '88. And when he came back, he said that his country must become the factory of the world. And started to do research, started to, orient their educational system, everything else towards that. That was a fact-based decision that he took, looking at the numbers, looking at development, looking at what his country needed. So I guess what I'm saying is, setting religion aside, religion is what it is. It has been used by people to politicize and everything else. But what is it that even allows religion to have that kind of effect on our country? It is the fact, or on our countries and societies, it's the fact that our societies are not yet fact-based society. We still make decisions based on tribalistic reasons and other reasons that are not really based on facts. And then that allows people, that brings the development of society backward. And whenever there's backward whenever development is halted and underdevelopment starts, then people begin to look for hope wherever they can find it. Religion comes in. But guess what else comes in, which we don't like to acknowledge? Things like gambling. What do you think is the biggest, what is causing this explosion of gambling companies in Africa? When a young man wakes up, he doesn't have a job, doesn't know where he's going to get a job. He's not the type of person that goes to church, or maybe he is. Maybe he doesn't really believe that much in church. He's going to go to the gambling center and use 100 naira to try and win 20 million, right? And be playing, all these long tickets and all of that. Some other people turn to drugs, right? It all comes from despondency and hopelessness, which comes from the fact that the society is not developing and, not therefore catering to the people within it. And why is the development not happening? Because our society is not running on fact-based decision making, right? So it's very simple example. If you're the governor of a state right? And you want that state to have enough money to for the citizens to enjoy, a beautiful society. You should be thinking to yourself, what value do we have in this state that we can send out to the outside world, and that will attract value to this particular state, right? I will use that value to then, make the place good for my citizens. And then, if your value, as in my state, Benue State, for example,
Mm.
if your value is in farming, then what have you done? Have you built a road that connects the market to the farms, right? Wouldn't that be a fact-based decision to sit down and crunch the numbers and say, if I build this road from where the oranges are to where the people need the oranges, this will cause that trade. This will bring in money. Maybe I can even export some of these oranges to other states, bring money in. People who have farms will be able to pay taxes. I'll be able to use these taxes to build a hospital where people can go and get treated. Those are the kind of fact-based decision making. Now, I know I've spoken quite a bit. I'll just add this last thing, right? Of course, the underdevelopment of Africa has been self-repeating because the people who deliberately, met us in an underdeveloped state and tried to and made sure they kept us in that underdeveloped state, right? Put in people who would continue, whereas other countries were founded by people who said, okay, I'm leading my people, right? So as I'm leading my people, I need to be thinking about what is best for my people. Remember the emperor of Japan that I told you about? When they bombed this country, what did he do? He didn't say, I'm going to go to the US with all the money I have and go and settle down and enjoy this beautiful life those people have there. He said, my people are backward. I need to bring them forward. Our leaders don't think like that, right? But they don't think like that because they're not leaders that we necessarily chose. They're people who are repeating in a structure. They are people who are kept as caretakers for colonialists, right? And being kept as caretakers, they're more sort of interested in pleasing and impressing their colonial leaders or masters than in actually taking care of us, right? So when the colonialists left, they looked at it as, oh, we are the new white people. So our own is to chop the money and show our people that we are better than them, right? The emperor did not try to show his people that he's better than them. He tried to lift his people up so that they could be as good as the other people that came to subjugate them. You understand? So that is the thinking that in part has also held us back, is that lack of ownership of this country from our leaders. Our leaders steal in order to impress who? In order to impress the very people who oppress them. I call it houseboy mentality. If you come to my house, right, and you ask me to betray my family for your riches, I will not do it because they're my family. But if I have a houseboy who is not part of my family, or a gate man who is not part of my family, and you make him the head of my family, he's going to be doing everything in this house to please you that gave him that position. And that is what they did, agreeing with the caller who mentioned the fact that she mentioned the fact that when they came, obviously we had leaders who would have been thinking for their people, right? Who would have been thinking about what is best for their people. But they replaced those leaders with who? With the lowest people in society, with the people who were probably not the drunkards and the misfits in society. They put them on top because they knew that those ones would be loyal to them. So that's one of the factors that has sort of held us back, continued the underdevelopment, which has created that environment where religion can enter and begin to exploit. Some religious leaders can enter and begin to exploit the hopelessness to steal from the people. Thank you.
Okay. Can I just make a brief
Okay,
comment? Uh, so
please go on.
the thing is, I wanted to respond to the other lady, but she seemed to have left. Um, the thing with Africa right now is that the story of Africa is the story of the world, is the story of human civilization. Whenever a conquering force entered into any place, they imposed their ideals, they imposed their culture, they imposed their language, they imposed their religion. and somehow there is an interaction, there is a give and take, and then a new civilization is formed out of it. At times it becomes superior to the original civilization, at other times it becomes inferior. Now, I noticed something. The other guests, they're not taking so much issues with religion as much as they're taking so much issues with imported religions like Christianity and Islam. Now, the religions in Africa, they were good. Yes, they had their own good parts, but they were not all great. How do we? Charles mentioned one of that, for example, evil forests. These are lands that could have been exploited for economic gains, but our religions held us back. We could not exploit them till the white man came and took what we did not know we even had. What about things like killing of twins, which Christianity stopped in Nigeria? What about things? I was in Olumo Rock about 2 years ago, and then when they were taking us through, there was a place where they usually used to do human sacrifice, and the man explained everything to me, and then he said, but now it has stopped. They now use animals for all that. These are things that African religion actually endorsed as at then. So when we look at it, we have to have a balanced view. African religion
Absolutely.
had its good parts, it also had its bad parts. So what do? We have to extract the good and do away with that which is bad. Look at what religion, Western religion, or even Islamic religion has done for Africa. Let me highlight some. For example, Africa, in the whole of the world, Africa did not have any written form of communication. Written language only came into Africa with yes, don't give me that eye grace. Written language came into Africa from the Arabs. From the
Well,
Arabs.
actually, I think the Ethiopians
The-
down in
Egypt,
Yeah.
Egypt.
It was hieroglyphics
Okay.
from Ethiopia.
Okay. So let's say sub-Saharan Africa. Let's say sub-Saharan Africa. I think
Ethiopia is in sub-Saharan Africa.
no, Ethiopia is not sub-Saharan Africa.
Ethiopia is in sub-Saharan Africa. It's not in North Africa. It's in East Africa.
No, Ethiopia is in sub-Saharan Africa. It's right. Eritrea is right there. I think Somalia. Somalia is
Okay, so
somewhere.
Ethiopia is
I'm-
Nigeria, up here in
maybe I'm mixed up,
sub-Saharan Africa.
but let me just go on. So, but the major thing is that even if there was written language in Africa, there was no explosion of that until the Arabs started coming in with Islam and the Westerners started coming in with Christianity. So what that did was that there was an explosion of knowledge. There was an explosion of so many other things that would have led to the development of Africa.
So I'm not
East
trying
Asian
to
nations.
interrupt.
In
I'm
just
not trying to interrupt
in
you.
the 60s.
If you don't
Yes.
mind, I wanted to ask you a question. Please bear with me.
Okay.
I think. Do you think that there was any link between the fact that religious missionary? I can't. Basically the missionary aspect of the religion. Do you think that had anything to do with spreading the language? Like if it wasn't a missionary religion and they were just having the language in their own place, would that then have spread that language across? Just the question.
If what religion was not
No,
missionary?
mention the explosion of
Yes.
of the language, right? Coming through
Written language of written
written
language.
coming through
Yes.
coming through the Islam, right? And
Yes.
Christianity. Now,
Yes.
my thing is, for example, the Amharic, who were, or rather, sorry, the Amharic language, which was written in Ethiopia. If the Ethiopians had a religion that they were going across lands to spread, do you think that the Amharic language could very well have been spoken as widely as Arabic? Like, because
Of
Arabic,
course. Of course.
So,
Also note that one of the very early Christians were Ethiopians. The Ethiopians were one of the very earliest Christians as well. And Christianity is a proselytizing religion. So anywhere the Ethiopians could have gone, they would certainly have spread the religion. But they didn't do that. But my point is, when you want to vilify imported religions for all the problems of society, of Africa, you miss it by a very wide mile, because you're now treating the symptom and not the root cause of the problem, like Charles mentioned earlier. No, the religion, all these deceptions that we are having from religious practices today, they are symptomatic of so many other things. People are disillusioned. So where do they go from there? I mentioned poverty the other time, and the other lady disagreed with me that we're not poor. Look, we are. How do you translate to natural resources into food for people? How do you translate into electricity? We are battling with the problem of electricity here today. How do you translate it into healthcare for people? It's not about having the natural resources. It is about how it is being utilized. And as a function of how Africa's resources are being utilized, we are still very poor. There is no shame about that. There's a lot that we can do about that. Even if the Western world had brought in their domineering ideas and they have used their religion to subjugate us, we are no longer under the influences, direct influences of the Western world. You talk about pastors who pay their members to fake miracles. These are not white pastors, these are black pastors. You talk about the government, you talk about a pothole on the road. At times, I think that we give religion way much power than it has. We give religion way more power than it has. Religion is more of a personal thing. Yes, it has its influences in so many other areas, but we have not been able to adopt the scientific method like Charles mentioned earlier. We have not been able to adopt a functioning political structure and system. Those are the areas we should be looking at, because I tell you, even in the Western world today, a lot of people are still very, very religious, but they have been able to separate it in their minds. This is how a society should function. They have been able to separate the religion from what they should actually be doing. So, in conclusion, religion, it is not the problem of Africa. Religion is not the problem of Africa. It is how religion is being utilized. And if we maximize the positive sides of any religion at all, whether it be African traditional religion, whether it be Islam, whether it be Christianity, then I see Africa going a very, very long way. Africa, with its resources, with its manpower, with its youthful population, I see Africa going a very, very long way. Just in the 60s,
He's frozen. I can't hear him. I had a question for him.
Yes, I can't. Okay, I can't
hello?
hear him either.
Yeah.
So, okay,
I'm back on.
continue.
Okay, so let me just round up. Let me just round up. A lot of these Southeast Asian nations, they were comparable to Africa on so many things, in terms of economy and in terms of how they lived, their socio-political environment and everything. But within the space of a few decades, they had overtaken us, and that is because of the influence of the Western world.
Can you hear him, or I'm the only one who can't hear him?
And I think
I
it's gone.
can't hear.
I think
Hello,
it's
The internet is
oh,
Okay.
up.
hello,
I wanted to
I'm back.
add to say
My
something.
internet is just. You
Okay,
wanted to
African
ask a
Tigress, I think
question.
you should quickly ask your question so that he can answer it before he rounds up, and then I have some
Okay,
follow-up questions I have
it's
here.
just a short. Just a short direct question to my brother who's just been speaking. I want to ask you, brother, which history books do you read apart from the Bible? Which other history books have you read apart from what you educated in school, the education
Okay.
system? No, which
Well,
history books have you?
well, I may not be able to give you the exact history books that I read, but I can tell you
Okay, like what are the sources of your information? In short,
which is not. I may have made some those claims. I think I need to educate myself more on that. But it is symptomatic of something, which is we are much more educated on Western history than we are of our own history as Africans, which is something that we
that's why
need
we
to
need.
which is, which is something that we need to
Yeah,
tackle. You understand? So if we are talking that, oh, religion is a problem, not having enough history is a problem itself. So how are we going to fix that? We're not going to go to church to learn about African history. We are going to get that from from schools, from secular society, and those are the issues that we need to be addressing.
Okay. So I want to recommend one book to you, to the brother who left. You need to look for a
Okay.
book called When the World Was Black. It's also available online on PDF. Just look for that book. For those ones who saying that, oh, Africa, there wasn't scientific civilization and all that, you need to read a book known as When the World Was Black. When the World Was Black. Check out that book, and I would recommend it to everybody who believes that the education and everything that we have was actually brought by the. Let me try and get a photo and show you how the book looks. So you need to read this. The book looks like this.
Okay.
When the world was black, the
I'll download
United
it
States
tonight.
of the world's first civilizations, because all that we know, all that a lot of people are speaking, I'm seeing on this panel when they're talking about, I don't know, scientific, there was no science and all that. I think the education system, what we've only learned what happened after colonization. It's as if there was no life before colonization, and I think that is actually the problem. And one thing that you mentioned was that, oh, when you're talking about that religion is the problem, we are only trying to solve the symptoms and not the problems. No, religion is actually the root cause, because it deals with the mental. So anything that affects the mind, the mental, how somebody thinks, that is the root cause. It's not poverty. It's because of that religion that makes you, that has Bible phrases and whatever that people interpret, saying that money is the root of all evil. It's that religion.
So how do you tie the religion to corruption? How do you tie it to nepotism? How do you tie it to tribalism?
I will tell you.
I
How do
think
you tie it to all
African
the
time
ills
resist.
that we
Let me comment. Let me attempt to answer that question that Charles just asked. You see, the way religion is used in Africa is so much
in our
to
political
a large
structure? How do you tie
extent
religion to all?
in a very unprofitable way as far as governance and development is concerned. So lately we've been getting series of stories coming from Zambia being one of the countries in Southern Africa. Um, just a few, I think yesterday, the Zambians on social media have been taking it hard on their president. Why? They've been posting a lot of images of development, or that is construction of roads and some projects that the government is, investing in for the youth and for the development of the country. But you know that we are in the age of information. So people research, the internet is there, and people were able to quickly spot that those pictures that he posted were actually not pictures from Zambia. One was a picture from, I think, Ethiopia. The other one was a picture from
Nigeria.
Egypt,
There was a
from
picture from
Israel.
Nigeria as well.
Yes, one from Nigeria, one from Ethiopia, one from Israel. Claiming that those were the development projects that his administration has been implementing in the country, and they called him out. He had to quickly go and then make a post to apologize and all of that. But this is a country that prides itself as a Christian nation. Zambia
Yes,
prides itself as a Christian nation. The government in
And
power, the
this-
Patriotic Front, prides itself as a Christian government. So even
you-
when,
you-
regard with all of the corruption, the incompetence, and the underdevelopment that is going on in the country, when the citizens speak, the government try to shut them up, claiming that they are going against Christian values. They are trying to rebel, which is rebelling against constituted authority, which is clearly stated in the Bible that you should not rebel against constituted authority. But these people elected you to serve them. So when they feel like you are incompetent and you're failing at the fundamental task that they elected you to perform, they have the right to call you to question. But then here are people, leaders, trying to use religion to silence the people. And I think that is where I would agree with your earlier submissions that religion in itself is not bad, but people tend to use religion negatively, just the way the Europeans did when they came. They brought the Bible, they used the Bible to capture and control the minds of Africans, and then they questioned, the scientific methods they're talking about, the scientific tools that was in Africa. In the process of questioning, they discovered they discover the resources, the abundant natural resources that are on the continent. They explored, and they carted away with these resources to develop their own countries in Europe, in America, and then here we are as Africans. Someone said, Charles earlier said, Africa was not developed before the Europeans came, the colonizers came. I also beg to differ on that, because even before the colonizers came, Africa had so many kingdoms, so many dynasties that were developed, organized, and functioning even before. Talk about Mali, talk about Egypt. We had these developed kingdoms with leading treaties, ruling them. But when these people came, what they did was they made us believe that our own systems were barbaric. Practices that were prevalent in Africa before the Europeans came, that somehow have been done away with, which are good, like the sacrifices that you were talking about, killing humans and all of that. It was barbaric, and yes, thank God that it has, those practices have been abolished. We've gone past that. But a lot of our civilization, were destroyed with the coming of the Europeans. They were destroyed. We had systems of education. We had writings developed, systems of passing knowledge from one generation to the other before the Europeans came. So what I'm saying in essence is that religion as it is in Africa at the moment is being used to our disadvantage by people who think they can play on the minds of Africans and keep us in this place of perpetual underdevelopment. A typical example being the case of the Zambian government that I've just cited. And that's not the only case. We have so many other examples of how religious leaders, politicians have used religion to silence people, to control people, so that they are so unsuspecting, and they are not questioning. So we are here in this state of perpetual underdevelopment. You go to church and they preach to you, they tell you to pray, to believe, to hope. What happens to the aspect of taking action, logical actions towards solving problems? Before I started this live stream, I saw a post that was made by a Caucasian woman. She said, she put some pictures of some of the biggest churches in Nigeria on that post and said, these are churches built. Can everybody still hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you. Go on.
That these are pictures of churches built in Nigeria. Poor people built these churches from their money. Instead of investing this money in building schools, they're building churches. Why Chinese? Can you watch me?
I
You're
can hear
breaking.
you.
You're
You're breaking,
breaking
but
right
I
now.
can hear
You're
you.
not so clear now.
Hello, Grace. Can I just respond to something?
No, okay. Let me just see what I was saying, Grace, because I need to sign out. Let me finish
Okay.
up. Okay,
No.
cool.
Okay.
So, like I was saying, religion, as our friend said, it is treating the symptoms. I believe religion is the root because it deals with the mind. It is this very same religion that we believe in. Oh, we should just forgive. They've stolen from us. We should just forgive. So it kind of keeps us docile and tries to pacify, people to. Politicians will do anything and then we leave it to God. We leave it to God to deal with them. The other day you shared a video of this politician who shot somebody. And what did the parents say? Oh, they're leaving it to God. Like, I mean, it makes us not seek justice when in cases where we need to seek justice. And also another thing you mentioned about Zambia, yes, that is one of the ways that politicians would use religion to, to make people to try and control people. Like it's a tool of control. Then somebody in the chat also mentioned about religion, Christianity, and the Bible and the Quran helping people. I don't know, with morals or something. Somebody, I read that comment like, we need. It's through Christianity or Islam that people get to learn the morals. Before this Bible, or because this person mentioned the Bible, before this Bible came, does that mean that our great grandparents were immoral? Do we really need a Bible to define on how moral we can be? can be. So I think that is a kind of mentality, and that is actually the effects of religion. That is what it does. It makes you believe that you must have religion in order to guide your morals. But the very same people who go to church, the very same people who use Christianity or the Bible, they're the most corrupt. They cheat, they lie, they fornicate. I mean, they do all that, but they believe that they can just go to church and that's it. But I don't think we need religion to defend the morals. I even believe that the constitutions.
Can I say something, please? I'm about to leave.
I'm signing out. Can you?
Now, you were saying something about we don't need religion. My question is, are you saying religion as a whole, or we don't need non-African religions? Because clearly there were religions in Africa before and still are, and you yourself have extolled some of the virtues of such religion. So when you use the word we don't need religion, are you saying religions totally or non-African religions?
I think I mentioned about the person who was talking about the Bible, because those are the things that, okay, maybe I could have not mentioned in context to the person who had mentioned about the Bible and the Quran. So I don't think we need a Bible or we need a Quran to guide our morals, because our grandfathers, great-grandparents didn't have that, and I believe they were more moral than they are, than people or than the society is right now. I don't think so. And then you said, I think there's something you said that it's poverty and all that. Like, I think I've already addressed that. So I don't think poverty is the root cause of it, the root cause of everything, the root cause of this mental slavery, the root cause of people not working hard enough is this religion that makes you believe that your house of gold is in heaven. You will live in a house made of gold in heaven. Then someone says, as the somebody who said that religion helps to abolish some traditions that are bad. I think we are confusing between religion and culture. I don't think the issues of twin killing and all that, those things were practiced. I don't think they were religion. That was a culture. So I don't think there was a problem with African tradition.
Religion is a subset of culture.
No, religion is a sort of.
It's a form of religion from a cultural context. You cannot. It doesn't exist in isolation. So if at all it was part of their cultural process, then it had some religious undertone to it.
No, I don't think so. And then also on that very note, we should note that even if the Christianity and whatever didn't come into the continent, these things could have probably been abolished, but not maybe as soon as it happened, but they would have been abolished, because we all know that culture is not static. It evolves.
Exactly.
Culture is not static. Yeah. So if these people are practicing this twin killing and whatever, I mean, it doesn't mean that it had to take them for us to abolish. It's just that it's maybe when they came, they could have abolished it much earlier. But what's the point anyway? They abolished that, but they were still stealing and killing people. So it's not like it's anything that we should be like, oh, they did away with this, because they were doing this. On the other hand, they were killing people. So it doesn't like really make a difference. So
you should understand that the foray into Africa was not really religious. It was much more economic. That religion was just a side of it. It was just side. They came to Africa for economic exploitation. So their goal,
of course, they came for exploration. They came to exploit.
Exploitation,
strategic.
Let me just. I have one last point, and I go. If they came for exploitation, they came for exploration and exploitation.
Yes.
They couldn't easily do that. The only way they could get to do this was via religion. Like, that is why when I started, I mentioned before.
They could have done it. They did it in so many other ways. They did it by force.
Can she finish, please? Can she finish her point before you talk, please?
Yeah, kindly let me just finish, because I'm signing out, and after this, then you can continue. Okay, lastly, as you are saying, for me, it was this religion, they came as explorers, yes, and whatever, but they realized that it was easy to make these people do away with their religion, their language, and whatever. They could easily control us. And lastly, what is the solution? Because I'm signing out. I believe, in my own opinion, these churches and whatever, these big churches, including the ones that Grace mentioned, they should be turned into hospitals and schools. That would be more helpful and more impactful to the African people on the continent. So thank you so much. I appreciate your chance. I appreciate you allowing me to participate in this platform, Grace. I have to sign out. Thanks to everybody who's been on the platform. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
African
for
Tigress,
for
thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. African Tigress,
this great opportunity.
appreciate your point of view.
All right. After digress, thank you so much
Sister
for
Grace.
coming. I
Mhm.
appreciate you. Guys, if you've not subscribed to her channel, please do so. She has African Tigress. Drop your link before you go. She has an amazing channel where she has a lot of these insightful conversations and thought-provoking conversations as well. So you would do well
Yes.
to catch up with her on her channel from time to time. So
Yes.
for
Yes.
those of you who are just tuning
I'm
in, thank
dropping the
you
link.
so much.
Grace, just a second. I'm dropping the link. I need just 5 more people to hit 23,000 subscribers. So just 5 more
Woo!
people.
All right.
All
All
right. Thank you
right.
so much.
All
I
right. So
appreciate
please click on the link when she drops it. Click and go show her some love. She's my sister. I love her so much. Anytime I go to Kenya, I have a house to live in. I have someone to take care of me. So please let's show her that love. So like I was saying, if you just tuned in, you're welcome. Thank you so much for coming. As you can tell, it has been very thought-provoking conversation that we are having. We are trying to link where we are today to the past, what we had and how we've gotten here, what we have in terms of religion in Africa, how that has profited or disadvantaged us, and how we can make progress moving forward.
Grace,
So
sorry
Can
if
I
I
endeavor
can
to
can I
just
share the stream.
can I just
Endeavor to share the
Sister
stream,
Grace?
and then of course subscribe if you've not subscribed. I'm also pasting the link to my fundraiser in the chat room. Kindly click on it and make your donations. We want to get new equipment, so please, thank you so much for your donations. So far we are at $600. The goal is to raise $4,000 so that we can buy camera, laptop, microphones, a drone. So it's a lot. Every dollar you donate will make a huge difference. So
Different,
thank you
yeah.
so much. Look at the link on the screen. I'm dropping it already. I'm dropping it again. Kindly click on it. Every dollar is appreciated. Thank you all so much. I love you for every support that you give me just tuning into this conversation. The chat room is hanging. Please click on the link and join the conversation.
Just hanging.
Yeah, we should be
So
back
let's keep
shortly.
this
I
going. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mira is joining
okay.
us. I've added Mira to the conversation. Welcome to the show,
Welcome
Mira.
here.
Mira is also a YouTuber based here in Lagos. So, Charles, you were about to say something. Charles,
Now,
I wasn't going
Sister
so
to.
Grace,
first,
can I
so
just say
first, Charles
something before
Ekokotu.
I leave, please?
Hello, African Unite. Just hold on. Charles Ekokotu will go. African Unite will go. We have Dave. I always mispronounce this name. Dave Gunn will go after African Unite. Then
So
we have Charles who will go. Brother Nice is here. Brother Nice will go. Ines will go. Mira's World will go. So we are going to take it
sorry,
like that. You all have three
which
minutes.
Charles is going first?
This
Charles
Charles, this
Ekokotu is
Charles.
going first.
Oh, all right, all
Charles
right.
Ekokotu is going first. So you all have 3 minutes to make your contributions, and then we'll go around again. So Charles Ekokotu.
Okay. Um, I think when everybody was speaking, when Grace was speaking, when African Tigress was speaking, there was one word that kept coming up. Religion was used. Religion was used. What it simply means is that religion is a tool, and the tool itself doesn't have properties so much more or as much as the people who use that tool. For example, a vehicle or a car can be used for many things. You can use it to transit from one place to another. You could use a
Mhm.
vehicle to run someone over. You could use a vehicle for so many things. You understand? It is the intent behind it and the person behind it that has the problem. So when we look at religion and we say, oh, religion is a problem, which most of us here are saying non-African religion is the problem. I I I don't agree with that. African Tigress said something the other time that our culture was good, religion is the problem. For me, I think it's the other way around. I think culture is the problem. And I'm not saying African culture is bad, because culture is an evolving thing. But the kind of culture, the current culture that we have right now, with the products, with the things that it is bringing out, it is wrong. Our culture of bribery, of corruption, of dishonesty, it is wrong. And Grace said something about the case of Zambia and being a Christian nation. You can see that there is a disconnect between being a Christian and doing all those things. If those things were espoused by Christianity, you would not see it as a disconnect. You will not say he says he's a Christian, but he's taking bribes. He says he's a Christian, but he's doing this. He says he's a Christian, but he's doing all those bad. It is because the religion itself specifically prohibits such things that he becomes a problem when people who espouse that religion do such things. So you cannot blame the religion for that, but you have to blame the vehicle, you have to blame the people who are using that religion. Because I tell you that even if we do not have religion in Africa today, people will still look for other means to exploit their fellow Africans. People will look for other means to make sure that the current system itself continues. So we have to look at education. We have to educate our people very well. We have to look at a cultural shift. We have to look at a mind shift. If these things do not happen, get rid of religion in Africa, it is not going to solve anything. What happened with the USSR, with the communist regime in the USSR? They all but stamped out religion. But look at what happened with Stalin. How many million people died under the communist regime, under the atheistic communist regime? So religion is not a problem. Culture is. And culture encompasses religion, encompasses our social attitudes, encompasses so many things. And religion is just one aspect of it. So unless we clean up our attitudes in general towards religion, then we will keep having these problems. Someone else can go on.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. The person going next.
I want to. Yeah. So yeah. This is to Brother Charles, because previously when you were talking, you made mention of my points, my point of view. First thing I want to say is that I'm sorry to say this, but you have to do research. You have to educate yourself more on your history, because when you're making your points without research and you're not agreeing with what African Tigress is saying without doing research first to make comparison, right? Instead of just like not agreeing that I do not agree with this. But I want to, you make a point earlier on, you talked about African not having entered writing. I want to take you back to history, which is not taught in Africa as a whole.
I think we've
Now,
addressed that anyway.
are you aware that Africans brought civilization to Europe?
Come on, shut up, man.
I would take Spain. I would take Spain. No, you made mention of that because you said we didn't have written this thing. I would take Spain, for instance, right? Africans were the ones who brought civilization to Spain. They taught them how to read. They taught them how to write, how to make soaps and take their bath properly. They brought education to that country. But those history is hidden, right? It's hidden. Even currently, they're taking it off of their history books, right? And then when we talk about religion currently, it's a huge problem because it has to do with the minds. When you're poor mentally, nothing is going to manifest physically. Same thing goes when you're brainwashed mentally. It has to do with the mental mind control. It controls the mind. I will use myself as an example. Growing up as a Christian, very much indoctrinated, I wasn't given the ability or the chance to make decision for myself if I want to be part of this quote unquote religion. No, I'm a Nigerian. Let me come on clear right now. I'm a Nigerian, right? So growing up in Nigeria, you're forced to go to church. If you don't go to church, a privilege is taken away
Exactly.
from you. That
Exactly.
is something like you will be starved. It's not a privilege. It's something that you. It's something that you should. It's something that you should. That your parents are responsible for. But they'll take. They will starve you. They will not
Stop.
give you money, pocket money, or when you're going to school and all that. They'll make sure that sorry, there's a call here. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear
Yeah.
you.
Okay. So now I was in the choir. I did all of that. Trust me, I did all of that. When I traveled to Europe, I'm currently in Europe as I'm talking to you right now. Okay. So I studied history. I researched our culture, our tradition, our history is not taught in our country, right? It's not taught. It's not in the curriculum. So the history that is taught here is different. The things you begin to find, you begin to question things. You're in Europe. You're not seeing people. They're not going crazy. They don't even believe in this bullshit called religion. Religion is banned. It's not allowed to be taught in schools. People are allowed to
Where are
think
you?
freely for themselves, to question things.
Which country are you?
Are you understanding me?
Are you? Because I'm just
Now,
hearing this for
Yeah,
the
I
first
can
time.
get you.
hello,
Yes. Go
Yeah,
on.
we can hear you.
hello, can you
We
hear
are
me?
asking where in Europe
Yes.
are you?
Absolutely.
Oh, I think our
It
network
is
dropped
not.
off.
Yes. So
All
the
right,
next
so
person.
Yeah.
I suppose I was supposed to speak next, if I remember.
Yes, please.
Okay, so quick one. First of all, I want to note
Hello,
that. Okay,
Okay, she's
welcome
back.
back.
hello.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank
hello.
you.
Welcome back.
Yeah. So So I
Sorry,
want
can
you
you
to
return?
So I want you to know that when the British when they came into Nigeria, right, they brought Christianity, right? The Arabs conquered the northern part of Nigeria. They brought Islam. And how did they do that? They held the Quran in their right hand and they hold guns and knife in the other hands. They tell them you choose. It's
Exactly.
either we are cutting off your necks or you're
Yep,
choosing
Or you accept
this
this.
one. That's the meant
yep.
or you accept the Quran. How would you do? They took the Quran, right? And Christianity, what
Yeah.
did Christianity do? They came with the Bible and told us, close your eyes and pray. When we close our eyes and we're praying, just like the African tiger said, they had our lands and we had the Bible. They destroyed our ancient civilization. Africans are nomadic people by nature. They travel
Mhm.
everywhere in Europe. They built Europe. Africans built Europe.
Yep,
They stole all
yep.
our brilliant minds and brain.
Mhm, mhm.
They didn't come empty hands. They came with guns. They came with a lot of things.
Okay.
Yes,
So
Charles.
I
Go
think
on.
it dropped off again. All right. So I think first of all, I want to note because I've seen a lot of comments in the comment section, which are actually very right. Right. Like we all have distinctive points of view and points of reference. So I think it's right to note. I don't know if anybody here is a scholar on this matter, but I want to raise my hand and say I'm not a scholar on everything to do with colonization or religion or anything like that. And I think we are all just speaking from what we have learned over the years in our own areas of expertise as well. So with that, I mean, I'm here to learn, and I'm really, really interested in what everybody has to say. Uh, my point of view is just founded on my own logical analysis of things that I've seen and read and understood. And that leads me to believe that, our discussion here, the topic speaks about religion. religion in general. So I don't know if Grace meant that to be Christianity or
No,
Islam
in
or just
general.
religion or just in general belief in any sort of religion whatsoever. Now, when we move forward from that particular um, premise, if we agree that what we're talking about is is religion in general, then it means that how religion is practiced, right? Because it can't be that every single religion is horrible, right? Because then everywhere it is practiced, we would have the same result that we're having here in Africa. So clearly, there has to be something to do with how we are practicing the religion, right? Now, speaking to my friend Charles's point about our culture, current culture of corruption, etc., and so on and so forth, I think it's important to note that every human vice exists everywhere in all people. It's just a question of whether you can express that particular vice in a given society or not, right? Whether a certain society claps for you when you're corrupt versus another society that perhaps punishes you when you're corrupt, right? Because we all just as human beings, we do what we are praised for and we run away from what we are punished, right? So if a society praise you for anything, you're going to see more of that thing. So so when you ask, let us let us take let us take the problem from uh, let's work backward from the problem. Work backward. What is our problem in Africa? Our problem is poor governance. We don't want system, right? We have we have let's
Can't hear you properly.
we have sorry,
Yeah, I can hear
can
you
you hear
now.
me?
Yes, go on.
Okay. So um people will say
Yeah,
that
we
we
can hear.
have wonderful human resources, right? We have really intelligent people, smart people who can do anything that is being done anywhere, right? We have people who can do anything that is being done anywhere. We have material resources as well. We have land, we have everything. What is the cause of our underdevelopment? And then most people would point to governance. I hope we can all agree that it's governance, really, right? If everything is there and we are still backward, then it has to do with how we are managing the things that are there. Now, why is governance therefore a problem? Governance is a problem because of how uh, um, governments are being chosen, right? A lot of times elections in Africa are won either rigged or fairly won by people who are either giving out small amounts of money at the polling box, or they're appealing to some sort of tribalistic tendencies of their people, right? So somebody comes to you and says, vote for me. Yeah, I'm a bad guy, but at least I'm not from that tribe, right? I'm from your tribe. So even if I steal, I'm going to share it amongst, our own people, right? Or I am not of that religion. So vote for me because I'm a very good Christian or I'm a very good Muslim and so on and so forth, right? So these are the real issues why governance is the way it is now. If you go back, why is it that all our leadership and all these issues, um, all these divisions have played such a big role in how we choose our leaders? Then you notice one thing, which is that in every colonized society, the colonizer will always play factions against the other, right? And when colonizers then make one tribe against the other and then they leave, those same factions remain, continue to cause issues with you know choosing governors, choosing the right governors, and so on and so forth, right? And if you step even further, okay, how did the colonizers even manage to arrive in the first place? They used what, superior technology to win certain wars, right? They came first to trade, and then in the process of trading, they started to take control. And to cement that control, they began to put down people who resisted using superior firepower and technology and so on and so forth, right? Now, why did they have superior technology and so on and so forth? They had superior technology maybe by accident, maybe they happened upon it, maybe they had a culture of research or something, and so on and so forth. Now, what somebody mentioned in the comments, which I noticed, was it's not as if Africans didn't have any sort of research or anything going on, right? Um, People will mention Timbuktu, people will mention other places. I guess history is also something that happens out of fortune, right? In the sense that I could just, if by some misfortune I wander into a certain place, and in that place they happen to have a deity who looks like me, and then I am able to use that advantage to take over that place. You know, that is how the history of that place unfolds, right? History doesn't happen in a vacuum. So for whatever reason, like I said, this is my own, just off the cuff, working backwards from the problem backwards to how it came about. And you can notice that in all this working backwards, you wouldn't notice that, oh, at this point, religion came in and then that's what scattered everything. No. As Charles mentioned before, religion was a tool that was used in the context of everything I just mentioned, in the context of a certain power that had superior technology at that time, wanting to exploit another place's resources and coming there and telling them myths about them not being inferior and so on and so forth, reinforcing those myths with their religion, right? And then putting people in place who agreed with those myths and then leaving, and then those people continuing the perpetuation of subjugation of their own countrymen for the benefit of that colonizing power, right? And then that society continuously going downhill from there because of that poor governance. Yes. But
Right.
religion
That's
itself is not religion itself is not the cause of the underdevelopment. Religion is a tool for the people who needed to colonize. Religion is also a tool for those who want to exploit the hopelessness and the despondency of the population, which has been brought on by the underdevelopment, right? Um,
okay.
Okay.
if one-
So,
All right. So thank you, Charles. People are saying you've gone past your 3 minutes,
I'm
but
very
thank
sorry.
you.
Oh, that's true.
Yes. So
Actually, I'm sorry.
yes, next person, Mira. I think you're next, right? So
yeah, yeah. So,
okay.
yeah, this topic is very, very vast, yeah. But what I would say is that religion is, it started with being a thing of the mind. And this thing of the mind was forced down to people from generation to generation. We don't even, like, if we trace it back to where it all started, it was something that a group of people came and either lured or cajoled our people into believing that this thing is what it is. I'm a Christian. I'm not going to start doubting Christianity, but I know that if I was born into a Muslim family, or maybe my parents were Buddhist or something else, I would like follow that faith. Yeah, there won't be a time I will start thinking or start doubting my faith or my religion or something. So I think religion is, once it's in your mind, you come to accept that this is what it is, and then it doesn't give you a broader view for you to start viewing things in another way. For example, start thinking that this might not really be what it is. So I think these people came down to Africa and they needed something that is going to be something that would be like a stronghold, yeah? And religion was the best stronghold they used. Because if you're able to cajole someone, or if you're able to lure someone, or if you're able to tell someone that this is the right place, if you do this, this is going to happen, or if you don't do this, this is not going to happen. Like I heard African tigers or someone else saying something like when they brought Islam to Nigeria, they were holding gun on the left hand side and the Quran on the right hand side, and they were like, you have to accept this. So some people were lured, some people were cajoled, some people were like taught into believing that this is exactly what it is. For me, I felt our people, like considering the seven continents, I think Africa is more like, I don't know, we tend to be people that we are more cajoled, or we are more lured to something, because Asians are not like that, and every other person, they even to today they have their own traditional religion, which I know we had in Africa, which I know we still have now. But some people keep saying, if you're a traditional religion, whatever, then you're backward, or then you are evil. It is because when we look at it in that evil point of view, most Africans, or all of us, I don't know why we don't like ourselves. We are just something else. We try to use this traditional religion thing to like make it in a way where we would now start maltreating other people, killing people, or doing some evil things. It is supposed to be a very clear and something like, when you believe in this thing or you have faith in this thing, it works for you. But some of the Africans have now, they found a way to like change the entire meaning. And then when you say you're a traditional, you believe in normal African tradition, then they start looking at you in some type of way, or maybe thinking you're evil. It is not supposed to be. As in, this is not supposed to be. What is supposed to be is just like the normal religion, just the way Christianity is, or the way every other religion is. It is something we had before these people came. So if we followed that way, and we were not cajoled or lured into believing a particular way, I think maybe we might have gone far, or not. I don't know. But what I know is that this was, just like everybody is saying, is a tool. Yes, I think we were cajoled, we were lured, or we were taught, we were lured into believing that this is what it is, and then we left what our forefathers believed in. And that's why when I see people say, this person is a traditional believer or something, and they start saying, you're not supposed to do this is evil or whatever. So this is actually what I think that all this is all about. I feel if Africans held on to what they believe in, at least we might not be here, or we might still be backward, or we might go further than this. I really don't know. But what I feel is that at a particular point in time, some people came down to Africa and lured or cajoled our people into believing what we are not certain about. And I'm not saying I'm doubting Christianity, I'm doubting that God exists or anything, but all I'm saying is that this has been passed on from generation to generation, so it looks like it's all true. This might just be something someone just woke up and thought of, wrote down, and then start passing it, and now everyone believes that this is what it is. And then you wake up one morning and forget that you're coming from somewhere, or your roots is somewhere. Then you forgot about other things those people were doing before Christianity or whatever religion came forth. So I feel this is one thing that is holding Africa back. We are now too religious to a fault, like to a very sick fault, that if you come to Africa, most of the richest men or women, whatever, they have something connected to religion, either church or whatever, and it's not supposed to be so. So I think I've been talking too much though. Is the 3 minutes up?
Yes, okay. Thank you. Um, Ines, I think Ines was next. The next person after Mira, you can have your take.
Hi guys. All I want to say is y- religion has never ever how could I say
Yes.
have helped Africans. And for what the brother said, it was very surprising. I understand like some people are not like they don't know their history, but what I would recommend to do is to go and read. I live in the UK, and I know there are people in there are colloquial, how do you say, in school. I was not taught African history, but I still made sure that not even my parents don't know their history. I made sure I went back because I felt like something was actually different. Something was actually because I was told about the Russians, that how the USA won the war against Vietnam, about the English. So what I want to say is that even though you're saying that Africans were didn't really know how to read and write. So if if you go and look at the Egyptians, like Egyptians, they were the one who taught the Greeks. The Greeks were coming to Egypt, learning learning about education, learning about physics, learning about maths, learning about other subjects. So it's very insane to me for you to say that, oh to say that African didn't have they didn't know how to read and write. The first calculation was found in Congo. The calculator was found in Congo. So it's just insane. But I would recommend you to go back and read. So yeah, what I wanted to say is that we know that religion really destroyed our civilization, and it destroyed. When I tell you destroyed, it didn't do nothing to us. It didn't save us. They were coming and taking and taking and taking and taking, and telling us to read the Bible and telling us to fast. Even today, now, even I used to go to church. Now I'm just sick of it, going to church and telling me, if you have a problem, oh, you just have to pray and fast and give your 10%. Like, what do you mean give my 10%? Like, but come on, I what I just want to say, we just need to, and we need to take that, we need to stop that mind of colonization, where we believe that spirituality, African spirituality, is evil, which is not absolutely. Even if you go to the Bible, there's even um chapter in the Bible that actually talks about you people. You just people, some black people, they don't like reading. We need to start reading. I'm not saying like all of black people don't like reading, but we need to start reading. We need to start educating ourselves. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Ines. Thank you for your contribution. The next person, you have the floor. I think that's Dave gone.
I think,
Sorry, I
I think
always
it's me.
mistake
Yeah,
your name.
yeah, that's me, Devon. You always get my name. You always butcher
Please
my name.
pronounce
Why do you
it.
do that?
Pronounce it.
It's the it's Devon.
Devon.
It
Okay.
is
Devon.
Devon.
Devon. I would not forget. All right, Devon, let's
Yeah,
have your take.
yeah. Good. Okay, cool. Okay, thanks. Blessings to queens and kings. I've been sitting back and listening, and it's 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 kind of amazing to me that how some of our brothers and sisters are really out of tune of their own culture, and what really happens to us. Number one, religion is an idea. First and foremost, it is an idea, and that idea can be used for good or bad, depends on who is using it. Okay. Now, back then, we wasn't practicing religion, we were practicing spirituality in our different tribes. Religion was something new to us when they came along. And with that come along with the newness of it comes with a lot of tragedy, comes with theft, comes with murder, deceit in the name of religion. Okay? So when we looking at our people, and I mean the sister just correct him, but I'm gonna correct him again. We thought every other nation everything that they know. Every other nation on this world, we taught them everything that they know. They came from us. Without us, it ain't gonna be them. So everything starts with us first. We build the first civilization. Okay? They come, And our ancestors got tricked that have us end up in this condition that we in right now because they didn't realize the value of the things that they had, the gold, the diamond, because it wasn't nothing to us. We didn't used to worship these things. See what I'm saying? But they came along and saw these things and see how much and see how they can make profit out of it. So what they did, they used what they call religion and take all of that from us. That have us where we are right now. Because why? We was a loving, friendly people. We accept them. Actually, we taught them everything. We taught them how to bathe, how to take care of themselves, how to wipe their butts, how to be hygienic. We did that. They came, they were smelling like ram goats. Yeah. So we taught the world everything that they know. But they don't want people to know that. And most of all, they don't want us to know that, which is the offspring, because we're going to know how great we are. So they work up a strategy to keep us in that state of mind through religion. And what religion do? Religion is literally is like a cult. Don't listen to anything else. Just listen to what we saying because we have the truth. In other words, they never taught you to think critically and logically. Just follow what I say because I am in close connection with the Most High. You are not. And we fell for it. Up to today, we're still falling for it. But I think we are living in an era right now where things cannot be hidden. Because in Revelation, the Bible says, in the last days, knowledge will be increased. And part of that means we're going to discover a lot of the lies that have been taught through the system of this world, especially the school. We know we're discovering a lot of the lies. See what I'm saying? So if we know who we are as a people, our whole mindset will change and we would look at ourselves differently. We would walk with our heads high and not bleach our skin to want to be like those other Muzungus. But it's because religion did that to us. Because they gave us white Jesus and black is despicable and black is horrible and black is this. Oh, white is pure and white is so that is engraved. It's a mental game, not just mental but spiritual also. It mess you up mentally and it cripple you spiritually. So this whole thing is more spiritual than mental. Even the name Africa, we never used to call ourselves Africans. What we used to call ourselves before they came. Who are we before they came? And change all our names. The names that we carrying now. Yeah? We're living in another man's culture, in another man's name, in another man's identity. We are not living in our own identity. My name is that's not my ancestors' name that they had before they put them into slavery and all of that. That wasn't the name. So we gotta go back and think and ask ourselves questions. Who was my people before they tell us in school that we were slaves and we were that? Who are we before that? We were kings and queens. We had emperors. We had kingdoms. Ever heard about the Black Wall Street? Go look it up. In America, go look it up. What they did, they bomb it down. They bomb it down because why? We was not depending on them. We had our own stuff, our own everything we need. The system of this world is designed to keep us down. And that's what you're not understanding, my brother Charles. And they're using religion to do that. They use the media to do that. Now they're using media to do that. If you stand up for your right and say that, hey, I'm not supporting gay or anything like that, oh, you this, you that, because you don't have a right to come up against or speak about something that come against your values and your morals. So, Charles, you got to look deeper within, bro. And I really hope that you do a little more research on your people. Stop pushing the white man agenda. Go study your people's history. We have a lot of rich history. And if you know it, bro, trust me, the way you're thinking right now, you will never think that way, I guarantee you. But it's because they hid that from us. And what they taught us in school is about the Europeans. Everything is about the Europeans. Never tell us about ourselves. No. Because if they do, our mind will elevate. Our spirit will elevate. And we will look at ourselves the way we're looking at ourselves today. Because we would understand how kings and queens we are not the black nigger and the black this that they call us. And black is a color to begin with. It's not a nationality, it's not a nation, neither a people, it's a color. We are all brown skin, many different shades of brown. But we keep the name that they give us. So we gotta watch all these things when we are going into religion. Because through religion they give us a lot of names and we still carry them today. And these things are spiritual implications, deep spiritual implications. So a lot of things need to change spiritually before you can manifest physically. Yeah, my brother? I think my time is way over.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you very
Yeah.
well,
Thank
Devon.
you, sister, for having me.
So thank you, Devon. I appreciate your contribution. Brother Nice has been having, I think, a hard time with his internet connection.
Yeah,
Yes, go
Yeah.
on.
exactly. Good evening. Good
Good evening, brother.
to
Nice.
everyone.
Welcome.
God, I just want
Blessings.
to
Blessings.
most of the thing that I want to say when it comes to spiritual things, we have to have wisdom before we speak about spiritual things. When it comes to religion, for let me make you understand something. Christianity is not religion, it's your life. This is reality. This is life. You understand? You can call other religion, but when it comes to Christianity, you have to. It's like let me explain something to you. If devil if devil want to possess anyone, it does not ask if you are black or white. That is one thing you need to understand. What we are talking about now, spiritual life, is we are talking about your personal acquaintance with God, with your Creator. You don't just come with a brain of philosophy or your education PhD to design spiritual things. It has nothing to do with colonialism. White people come to Africa to colonize Africa. This is your spiritual life. Jesus is not a religious man. Jesus is not a colonial master. It has nothing to do with that. We are talking about the one that created things that have breath. You understand? People just come with their education, with their philosophy's mind. So let me tell you something. We Africans, we have problem with low self-esteem, superiority. We are fighting about superiority. We Africans want to be superior more than the white. The white want to oppress the black. When we come, this thing we have to differentiate it away from spiritual life. You don't have to bring colonialism to spiritual things. We have to know the difference before we speak about it. Like this sister that came that said they should turn church to schools or hospitals. She's speaking out of ignorance. You understand? When you talk about, the good things that church do does not make volume, but it's only the wrong ones that makes volumes. When you do know how many poor countries that church feed around the world? Do you know how many orphanage that church distribute foods to? Church provide roof for them. Do you know how many that you can? How many are you going to count? Solidarity. Jesus is love. Jesus come with life of solidarity, assistance to help people away from. It has nothing to do with the situation that human beings are passing through this earth. Has nothing to do with it. Everything that we human beings are passing through is caused by our nature, the sinful nature that we have. It has nothing to do with spiritual life. That is the reason why Jesus came, to change those things. So, or the idol we used to worship, our idol. No, this one has nothing to do with that. It's superior more than that. You understand? So when you are talking about colonialism, let me leave the spiritual aspect of it and let me talk about colonialism that we are talking about. When the white people came to colonize Africa, we were saying, we Africa used to complain every time. Oh, these people came to oppress, steal our resources, steal our riches. That is the reason why Africa is in poverty. Since we had independence, this in can prove of what have they done for the citizen of African descent or Africans? What have they done? The leaders since our independence, African nation had their independence. What the leaders since all those independence? Nothing. World, I have not seen any blink of light. They have never seen light in this country. But I used to see some of you there saying that the light just go off. You understand? So those are the things.
Which country
is
are
it
you
religion
in?
that causes that?
Which country are you in?
Just
Brother
want
Nice?
for people that used to come to criticize religion, criticize people, they are the one that brought.
Which country are you talking about, Broda? Which country is it that you are talking about?
Hello, are you still hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing you. Which country are you talking about?
Yeah, we are hearing you, and
Hello.
And I'm eager to respond to you.
Hello, are you still hearing me from the chat room?
Yes, please.
Go
I was
ahead,
only
bro.
asking which country you are.
We are hearing you.
Go on.
It sounds like his network is bad. He's
I
not
can't
hearing
hear
us.
you. Go on.
Hello, maybe someone.
He's not hearing us.
Hello, are you still hearing me from the chat room?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Yeah, we've seen you and hearing you, but you're not hearing us.
Okay.
Can I respond, please?
Brother
Please,
Nice, can you hear me?
Hello.
He's having some technical
Hello.
difficulties. He's
I
having.
can hear you.
Oh,
We can
boy,
all
here we
hear
go.
you.
What's going to happen?
Hi.
Let me connect it.
Okay. If he's having a hard
The
time
problem is
connecting
on
back,
your side.
then
You're having
on my
network
side.
trouble.
Nad,
Can I?
welcome to the stream. Before Nad goes, thank you everybody for tuning in. If you've not subscribed, please kindly do so. Click on the subscribe button and definitely share the stream. If you've not done so, share it. Let's have more people come up. Let's have this conversation, very important conversation. I'm also dropping the link to my equipment fundraiser, very important. I want to get more equipment so that, for instance, this computer, editing with it has become a chore, so I need a new computer to improve editing and for when I do live streams as well. So kindly make donations, and thank you so far for all the donations you've made. They are all appreciated. We have raised $600 of our $4,000 goal. So thank you all so much. I appreciate it. We are making progress, and we'll definitely be able to buy this equipment. So thank you. You're all welcome. It's been insightful and thought-provoking conversation so far. So let's continue. Nads just joined us. So Nads, you have the floor now. What's your take on this conversation? The basic question we've asked is, how has religion been the undoing of Africa? Because a lot of people say religion is the biggest problem of Africa. So that's what we've been attempting to answer. Quite a lot of different perspectives about it, but like I always say, every opinion is valued and is welcome on this channel. Let's just keep it respectful and civil. So you have your before you go, Nat, Mira was here just a while ago. Mira is also a YouTuber. She has a channel. So I'm going to drop her link in the description, in the chat room, so that you can click on it to join the African Unite Force. African Unite Force channel. She's also an amazing YouTuber. Please please drop your link so that they can click and also join you. So let's continue. Now let's have you your contribution.
Good evening,
I'll be right back, just a few minutes.
Good evening, everyone. I've joined this chat a little bit late, and I'm so glad that I joined it. Ines, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I am?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I agreed with some of your points. I think you are very much on point, actually. The other uncle that was talking, he caught my attention. That's why I had to actually join this chat, because, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. It's absolutely ridiculous. This kind of African mentality that we have when it comes to religion has to stop. It has to stop. It has to stop. Because what our parents, our uncles, our aunties are doing is brainwashing our children, okay? They are brainwashing our children. I do believe that religion has been detrimental to Africa in a negative way. It has not been in a positive way whatsoever, okay? Certain people in our culture, our brothers and sisters, our uncles and aunties, our mothers and fathers, their interpretations of the Bible is completely false and is wrong as far as I'm concerned, okay? Number one, if we take one verse from the Bible where it says that if somebody slaps you on your right cheek, or whether it be your left cheek, you must now give them the other cheek for them to slap. Does that really make sense to anyone? Seriously, can someone just say yes or no? Does that make sense? If somebody slaps you on one cheek, you must give them the other cheek. Isn't that what's happening right now with this pandemic? We have the pandemic of this virus, and we also have the pandemic of racism. Look what they're doing to us. Does that mean that we must lay down and just take it? Does that mean that we must take them being racist to us? Does it mean that we must take them treating us like we are nothing, we are worthless? Does it really? No, it does not. It does not. At the end of the day, I believe that the Bible is somewhat of a spell book as far as I see it. There's some parts of it that, yeah, it is correct. And there's some parts of it that's somewhat being modified. You need to understand the Bible has been written by so many people. Why? Only a couple of months ago, I read that China is looking to rewrite the Bible. What is that telling you? How can you rewrite the word of God? How? Where does that notion even get into your mind for you to think this thing over here, this book, this literature, we do not like it, we are going to change it? What does that tell you? It tells you that what we are reading, some of it is true, some of it is false. And the ones that are true, they're trying to rewrite it. Okay? Understand that the Bible that you guys read, the Bible that you guys look at as guidelines for your life is being used against you. It is being used against you. Your enemies, your oppressors are using it against you because there are key points in that Bible that helps them to have victory over us. Nothing new is under the sun. Remember that. Nothing new is under the sun. I say that because I've realized that in my 31 years in God's sweet earth, that with every decade, it's the same thing. History is repeating itself, but it's modified. It's changed. It's changed slightly. There's a different tone. The music is still the same. We're singing the same kind of tunes, but it's just different. The violence is still the same, but it's just different and it's modified. The racism is still the same, but it's different, but it's modified. Okay. Look at the killing of George Floyd. Let me tell you something. That right there, it was like a spell that was put upon each and every person that looked like me, that looked like you, Virtue, that looked like you, Charles, and that looked like you, Ines. Okay? Yes, salt of the earth, same here. I woke up in my teens as well. I noticed it because I was thinking, how is it possible that the killing of felt physically, emotionally, not even physically, mentally and emotionally drained. We all felt emotionally and mentally drained because there are key points in the Bible that is being used against us. Africans are meant to be spiritualists, not religious. Understand that. We as a nation, we are supposed to be spiritualists, not religious. The white man came to our country, to our home, to our backyard, to our Garden of Eden, and decided they saw something in us. They saw the power that we possessed. They saw our potential and said, no, we can't have that. So what we're going to do is we are going to change a few things. We're still going to give them what they want, but not really. You need to understand, when Satan was casted out of heaven, there was an agreement between him and God. The agreement was, God said, I'm casting you out of my house. You are no longer wanted here. But understand this, you will go out there, but you must tell my people, you must show my people what you are planning to do, all your plans. The devil agreed, but Satan did not say that he will make it obvious. But only the ones that are awake, only the ones that are in tune, see what is going on. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Please, I hope what I'm saying, somebody is taking heed to what I'm saying. There is an agreement between God and the devil. The devil will always tell you what he's doing. You see this imbecile and his wife that now wants to go and say that, I see dead bodies in Africa. It's a curse. It is a curse that she put in our country. It is a curse. And I take it as an insult. And when I heard that, I went on my knees and I said, God, I want to be a warrior of the truth, because I cannot. How can you, with your lips, open it and say that you see curses? No, but it's the truth, Ines. You're laughing, but it's the truth, isn't it, sis? It's the truth. Am I laughing?
I'm sorry. I had to laugh. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's the truth.
No, you're talking the truth. You're talking the truth. You're saying the truth.
With your spaghetti list, you want to go and say you're sitting in your mansion, in your tower, you're looking at our house, and you want to say that you're seeing dead bodies in Africa. Who told you? Which spirit told you that you're seeing dead bodies? Which spirit? Because it wasn't the spirit of God. It wasn't light that told you. It wasn't angels that told you that. Who told you? But when she said that, I said, okay, no problem. But you see, whatever they do.
Wait, can I ask a question? Is that Bill Gates' wife?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Yes.
It is. And I remember Virtue, you documented on it as well. She had the audacity to say she sees dead bodies. They came to my country in Congo. They ruined our children with their vaccine. They went to Bangladesh. They ruined the children's over there. They now want to try to impose all of these things. I'm telling you guys, there are key points in that Bible that we guys treasure so much that can help us beat and win a lot of battles, but our interpretations of it are incorrect. I had to tell my own mother that was trying to preach to me about the Bible. I had to tell her, but your interpretations is not right. I'm not going to listen to it because it's a sin what you're doing in itself. It is a sin. Do not be afraid to speak your truth and the truth when someone presents you with literature, because nobody in this world has got the right to open up the Bible when their heart is not pure, when their soul is not clean. Because as Christians, inverted commas, and I say that sarcastically, you are not meant to be judgmental. Us Africans as Christians, we are too judgmental. We think we know everything. We think we are prophets when we are, oh, I had a dream. Oh, I had a dream. You had no dream. You had no dream. It was a thought. It was a thought. Don't get the two misconstrued. It was a thought. Okay? There's only a few of us, a minority of us, that actually do have prophetic dreams. But like the other person said, that was going in the right direction and then he went left. That's no longer in the chat. When you have these dreams, or when God sends you a message, you are not meant to open up your mouth and tell people. Do you know that? You keep it to yourself. You write it down on a piece of paper, write the date and the time that you received your message, and wait for it to flourish, because it's seed at the end of the day. It is a seed. You let it flourish and see if it comes true. When it comes true, that's when you speak, and you'll see how the universe, God, your angels, your ancestors, especially your ancestors, which is very important, which a lot of Africans forget about. Your ancestors are very important. They are connected to God. They are the one that brings your prayers to God. They are the ones that fight for you. They are the ones that have paved the way for you. Okay, I had to have this argument with my friend. She said, no, I don't believe on this ancestors business. You know, they're just humans. They were just humans like me and you. They bled like me and you. I go, but hold on a second. Did Jesus not bleed like me and you? Was Jesus not human? Huh? Was Jesus not human? Did Jesus not bleed? Did Jesus not feel pain like me and you? So what are you talking about? Africans, do not forget your ancestors. They are the key to heaven. They are the key to your success. They are the key to your struggles. Go to them, speak to them. Understand that when you leave this earth, you leave your heart, you leave your mind, but you take your soul with you. Your soul will always live. That is your ancestors. The only country in our home of Africa that practices the true religion is South Africa, and this is Haiti. It is South Africa and it is Haiti. Haiti and South Africa have not forgotten. Yes, I agree with you. We are a confused group of people. Africa, South Africa and Haiti have not forgotten their roots. They have not forgotten where they come from. That's why Haiti were able to do what to their colonizers, to their oppressors. They told them to get out and never come back. They taught them a lesson. They done that by themselves, and they done that by themselves with the help of their ancestors through God. So no one can tell me anything that ancestors do not exist. No one can tell me that ancestors are nothing. It's a lie. And if anyone tells you otherwise, Do not talk to them, remove them from your life, block them, don't even be around them. Because they're working for the opposite side, they're working for Satan. That's all I've got to say.
All right, thank you so much for your contribution. We have Flo joining us. Aunt Flo is joining us. My auntie calls me Beta Pikin. For those of you who are not Nigerians, Beta Pikin means a good child, you know. So that's it. If you are just joining, definitely give the stream a thumbs up. Yes, I'm a Beta Pikin. I know that. Give this stream a thumbs up, share it to show like that. Thank you for your donations that are coming in. I appreciate it. I'm dropping the link, so if you want to click on it to make your donation, I'm also going to drop a PayPal details in case you want to make your donations through PayPal. So much. Grace, are you live this weekend? Yes, man, alive. I'll be live this weekend. Very interesting conversation we are going to have on Sunday. So definitely keep yourself locked. Keep it locked on this channel. Aunt Flo, you're welcome. Let's have your take. She's been listening all the while. Ines, do you want to say something?
I just
Well, yeah, just very brief because I wasn't intending to
Okay,
even
so Auntie Flo,
contribute
just
to
hold
this.
on, just hold on. Let Ines quickly.
I just
Ines, you
want.
have 1 minute.
Yeah, it's not even 1 minute. It's just 25. It's just a second. Are we gonna continue the conversation? There's a lot of noise. Are we gonna continue the conversation? The same conversation. Are
No,
we gonna continue?
no. The conversation we're having this weekend is different.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Aunt Flo. Let's have your take. Welcome.
Well, I wasn't, thanks. Hi, everybody. I wasn't even going to contribute to this because I don't really discuss religion or spirituality with anybody because that can start wars at any time. But my thing is, one thing I noticed in the comments is that a lot of people were mixing religion with spirituality, and Africans did have spirituality before the colonials came in. It's just that some of them have lost that spirituality, and it was that spirituality that kept us going. So is that really the downfall of Africa? In my opinion, I don't think that religion is really the downfall of Africans for real. People are looking to blame something outside of themselves, which is not true. Because at the end of the day, let's just be honest, we have lousy political heads in our countries, in most of our countries. That's the problem that Africa has. Because if a political representative was a lover of the soil, a son of the soil, a lover of its people, and a leader of its people, we wouldn't have half the problems that Africa has right now. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people were talking about a lot of false history, like the second Charles, who was saying that we didn't have writing, which is completely untrue because we had the written word, which was hieroglyphics anyway. And in Gabon too, they had their own dialect, and there was a Gabonese, a dictionary way before even the colonials brought dictionaries around and language. The first piece of paper was found in Africa. It was papyrus. But when people are discussing things, you kind of need to know your facts before you start making an argument. And that's what I find slightly irritating at times about things. I don't have a problem with Jesus. Whether they want to portray him as white, Chinese, or whatever, that's their business. My personal relationship with Jesus is a personal relationship with Jesus. I have had a personal experience in my life where I've risen from the dead, hence the reason why nobody's ever going to change my mind about Jesus, God, or spirituality. I am just not religious. That's
Glory,
the thing.
can I ask you a
Religion,
question? Sorry, can I just ask you a question?
yeah.
When you say Jesus, which Jesus are you talking about? Is he a white
My
Jesus or
Jesus is black. My Jesus is black. I don't have
good?
time for all this, whether it's white,
Good.
whether it's got long hair, whether it's got Chinese hair or whatever. My Jesus is black.
Okay, good.
That's simple and short. My Jesus is black. I just find all those things. I mean, what is your argument with Jesus? understand, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's a spiritual thing. Spirituality is completely different from religion. People in Africa, our leaders in Africa, religion for the sake of demagogy. That means for the sake of division, if I'm speaking too much English for people, because they're telling the people what they want the people to hear and what the people desire them to say for them to vote for them. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you are a true patriot and you love your land and you love your country, why can you not look, even if you have to steal? I'm not God to come and judge you. Even if you have to steal, white people steal too. But at least when they go into power, let's be honest, yeah, they do some work so you can see proof that at least when he was in office, he put electricity in the city. But with African leaders, they don't do that. They use their positions. I mean, why is it that in Nigeria right now we have Muslims mostly leading the forefront, and yet we have seen nothing coming from those Muslim leaders? Their own people. I mean, children go to school, so-called, just sitting over gutters. Yeah, ever since Buhari has been in power, sitting over gutters, taking their school lessons from there. You go into certain classes in poor areas, and they don't even have chalk for the chalkboard. I mean, it's ridiculous. Nobody should have to live like that. If you're the leader of a country and you love your people, you try and sort out the little things first. And those most important things, you need to educate your people. If Botswana, the president of Botswana, realized that the problem that he had with his own people were that they were not educated enough, and when he came into power, he needed to change that, and he changed it for the betterment of the Botswana people, then what is stopping Buhari? What is stopping, Elijah Omar Bongo? What is stopping other leaders from Africa from doing it? It is the heart that is important in things. Religion doesn't come into it. Religion exists outside of yourself. Spirituality is inside of yourself. So the sister that spoke before, what's her name, Nads or something, I believe, some of what she said was actually quite I agree with. But do I have a problem with the colonials? No, I don't have a flipping problem with the colonials, because right now the colonials are having the last laugh because they depend on Africa. Without our resources, there will be nothing. You understand? There will be nothing. But yet, Africa has the biggest gold reserves in the world, yeah, but yet the US and Europe are calling themselves the biggest powers. How is that? How does that work in your equation? Because if you do economics, it's the country that owns the gold that should be on top of the country that actually
And
steals it from
sorry,
you.
Auntie Flo, for interrupting you. That brings me to a question that I think this might be a conversation we need to have another day. I'm not.
You're breaking up.
This that sell to the Western world. Nigeria, for instance, has the oil. Congo has all of
the ores,
the coal, the diamonds from Botswana and all. But then we do not determine the prices. Our currencies are weaker compared to the currencies of the Western world that we sell our resources to. So that might be a question or a conversation we need to have another day. So let's just continue. Your point actually prompted me to say that.
Yeah, because I mean, to be very honest, because I mean, I see a lot of people putting a lot of slander comments and whatever. I mean, I'm not Jesus. It's up to them to do whatever they want to. But at the end of the day, learn to respect other people's beliefs. It's just as simple and as short as that. Because I mean, why is it, like I was saying, that in Nigeria, the Muslims are always succeeding getting the biggest post in politics? But this whole thing was started by the colonials, to be very honest. Because I mean, if the colonials come into your country and find out that, like the brother Charles, the first Charles that spoke, said that positions of power are given to the idiots, yeah? And unfortunately, it's not to offend any Muslim out there, but they found out that the Muslims were not as educated as the Igbos and the Yorubas, and yet the British colonials put them in power. So therefore now there's a power tussle between the Muslims and the so-called Christians out there. But then again, what has that got to do with the price of fish? Let the best educated person, the person who means the best for their own country and their own people, to be in power, but that's up to us to discern it.
Sorry,
Africa got the leaders, the lousy leaders that it's got, because people get the leaders that they deserve. It's just as simple and as short as that. That is written even in the Bible. You get the leader you deserve. If the people are as stupid as the leaders they vote for, they get what they deserve. America has now got Donald Trump, and they're now crying because they've got Donald Trump. But they're the ones who chose him. They're the ones who chose Donald Trump. So there you go. So they have to put up with Donald Trump. Africa's got the rubbish that is got because we chose to vote for rubbish as well. Because let's be honest, Africa's politics is not very straightforward. You go to your embassy to vote. I think Nigeria is one of the only few countries where people in diaspora cannot actually vote outside of the country for what is happening inside of the country. But as a Gabonese person, I can tell you that even though I'm in diaspora, I can actually go and vote for my country from England because I go to my embassy. And I know, and I will tell you that in African politics, you get bribed to actually pay, to actually vote for somebody. You get bribed because you get money. So those who want to sell their souls for money, they cannot complain now about the state of their countries when that is what they do. If you have principle, you turn down the money. It's as simple and as short as that. Yeah, because what is £100 or £200 going to do for you for the rest of your life? Yeah, just because you go and vote for the wrong person who does not do anything for you. African politics is not as straightforward as Caucasian politics. You know what I mean? We have moved forward in certain things, but yet we still remain as backward as Europeans in certain other things. Ines mentioned an incident where, well, I think it was Ines anyway, mentioned an incident where there was a woman who was qualified as a witch and people set her on fire, blah, blah, blah. But white people used to do that as well. From the time of Joan of Arc and even before, they used to do that. But Joan of Arc, when she went into her politics to actually confront her people, because she was white, she was just as white as the people she was fighting. But the only reason why they qualified her as a witch was because she was the only woman who wore trousers and actually went on a horse to go and fight other political forces that she did not approve of. But was she a witch, or was she doing the right thing for the people? You understand? It depends on your emancipation. It really does depend on your emancipation. I don't really believe that religion is a problem with Africa. It's the downfall of Africa. It is not. It's our political leaders and what they have in their hearts for their country, for themselves, and against the people that they claim to represent. It's just as simple and as short as that. That's what I have to say.
Right, thank you. So there's actually these accusations that thank you. And this accusation that people usually level against religion, especially in Nigeria here, people use it. It's like Nigerians have the biggest cheats. You know, they build churches with people's money, money that ought to be using to build hospitals, roads, schools, research centers, and people would argue that the money, the church, statutorily, the church does not receive taxes from citizens. The government receives taxes that are meant to be used to develop our various countries in Africa. So people should excuse religion for once, especially Christian religion, where people have to give offerings, people have to pay tithes, people have to sow seeds and all of that. So that really is a conversation we need to have. Are we to hold religion accountable for the lack of infrastructure as far as healthcare, education, research facilities are concerned in Africa? The lack of them are concerned in Africa, or we are going to hold our government accountable? Is it a case of misdirected anger or accountability, so to say? Demand for accountability, rather.
Can I respond?
Yes, please, Charles. If you can wind up your windshields or your glasses, please do so, because the noise on the road is interfering. I know you're on the road.
Is it better now?
Yes, it is.
Is it better now? Okay. So
yes.
First, I want to agree a lot with the last speaker she did speak my mind in a lot of issues. So when you look at these things and then you accuse the church that um, money, you have the biggest churches in Africa, you have this, and there are no hospitals, and there are no this, and there are no that. First of all, you ask yourself, whose primary responsibility is it to have hospitals, to have schools, to have healthcare, to have all these basic amenities? Those are the functions of governance. And because our government has failed in its responsibilities, see, it is very easy to push the blame and say religion is the problem. I still maintain my point. Religion is not the problem. It is our attitudes. It is our values. Because if you look at these so-called religions that we are accusing, if we are true to the tenets of these religions, we would have a far better society. There is nowhere in any of these scriptures that tells you that you should bribe someone for elections. There is nowhere. There is nowhere in any of these scriptures that says that when you award contracts that you should steal the monies. There's nowhere. Now, these churches that build, they have magnificent churches. They don't. These are out of the how will I put it? These are voluntary contribution by members to these churches. I'm not saying I'm endorsing what they are doing. I'm not saying they have a right, because some churches actually what they do is that they just psych people to siphon funds from them. I'm not saying that, but that is on a very, very personal sphere. Religion is a very personal matter, and it shouldn't come into how we should live as a civil society itself. So when we have rotten values, when we have leaders that are not accountable to their people, what do you expect? What do you expect? Even if this whole thing was set in motion by the white man, I ask myself, now we have identified the problem. What are we going to do about it? I think that canceling all churches and all mosques in Nigeria is going to solve the problem. Is that going to make the councillor or the senator or the governor, is that going to make them much more responsible? No. Religion is just one of the many tools that those in power use to subjugate people, because they know they can use it to emotionally manipulate people. Not that religion itself is inherently bad, no. So we have to look inwards. We have to go back to the drawing table. What exactly is the problem? Why is this problem so rife in so many African societies? When you go from one to the next, you see almost the same story. What exactly is the problem? There has to be a break at a certain point. I can tell you very well that Africa was not the only continent that was colonized. The history of humanity is a history of colonization. There are almost no people in this world that have not been colonized by another people at a certain point in their history. Culture is never ever static. Culture is not a monolith. Culture is dynamic, and culture, you borrow a lot from culture, come together, they rub with each other, and then they pick up certain elements from other culture. For example, the English language. The English language is a mixture of so many languages, from old German to French. Even Nigerian words are in the English language today. So we cannot just say that because the colonial masters came and then they brought religion, then that is the cause of the wars. No. I refuse to accept that. We need to start taking personal responsibility as Africans. We need to start taking personal responsibility for the things we do. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So we need to start taking personal responsibility for our actions. We need to start holding our leaders. Our docility is getting the better of us, and it has nothing to do with religion at all. It's not because religion has indoctrinated us so much. That's why we are docile. That's why we cannot come out to vote, or that is why we will sell our votes Come on. It is easy to point the finger, but remember, when you're pointing one finger at somebody else, four of them are pointing back at you. So Africa needs to have an introspection. If this was happening in an isolated African country, we can say, okay, let us isolate religion. But this is the story of Africa across board. Refuse to accept that it is religion. There is something else at play here. And until we are honest with ourselves and tell ourselves the truth that, look, there is a fundamental problem with our culture right now. And by culture, I mean the way we do things. There is a fundamental problem with the way we do things right now. And then we have to change that. There has to be a shift. No, I made a claim earlier which was wrong, which I have now accepted about written language and all that. But it also stems from the fact that a lot of African history is not being taught. I can tell you a lot about European history from what I was taught in school, but there is little of African history that's been taught. So how are people supposed to find their bearing from there? So those are some of the issues. So those are some of the fundamental issues that we need to address. We need to clean up our political sphere. We need to hold our leaders accountable. And until we do that, we will keep crying from here till the end of the world about religion. And nothing, I say,
Same.
All right.
For
Um,
once.
Thanks, Charles, for that contribution. So, the summary of your point is that we should hold our leaders accountable and not blame the underdevelopment and the failings of our governments on religion. Okay, Ned, you were saying something. Was it that I was hearing someone's voice?
No, it was me. So,
Okay, so okay.
no, because I
So,
mean, it is true. We should stop blaming things that are outside ourselves, you know. And that's where, you know, Charles has gotten his enlightenment. We should stop blaming things that are outside ourselves. The only thing we need to blame about the state of Africa is the people who lead it. It's just basically it. Because, I mean, the puzzle is Botswana was one of the poorest African countries. And yet they got a good leader that came in there and saved it to the point where he raised the GDP of everybody in that country. And the average that they earn per annum is 19.5 thousand. I am sitting in the UK. Do you know what our wages have gone down to now? The standard wages that the government finds acceptable for you to have so that they don't have to give you any assistance is now £13,500. 13,500. In 1991, the average wage per person per household used to be £19,500, and it's now sunk by £6,000, and they expect us to live comfortably in this country. It's better to go home. I'm telling you right now, Africa is the best place for us to be in, and not Europe, because Europe is going to be so painfully expensive after this COVID has gone that some of us will probably think the easiest thing to do is just to pack up bag and go back home. A lot of people are praising Europe. They are praising the USA, that, oh yeah, because they've got running electricity, oh yeah, because they've got internet, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh this. You can get a loan, you can get a mortgage, but those loans, economically and logically, they're actually killing you. They're killing you, they're killing your marriage, they're killing your relationship. Because how can you take a loan out on a house and for 30 years you are free to be unemployed because you need to pay for that house? Because you know that if you don't pay for it, they will come and seize that house and you'll be homeless. Whilst in Africa, if you can't buy a house for cash, they give you a 5-year mortgage and you can pay for your house and be comfortable. So people have to see the narrative in this. Yeah, there are some African countries where there is no regular water. Just like with you right now, Grace, we saw your electricity go off. You had to go and put on the gen, blah, 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 blah. But those are little inconveniences that you have to live with. What people don't know is that Nigeria's streets were lit way before even England. could even invent a lamp post. Nigeria had the first television broadcasting station way before even England had the BBC. So how is it that from there, Africa has sunk so low, despite the fact that it has all these minerals and all this in there? Should we blame the church? No. But the church had no business getting involved in politics in the first place, because per the conversation of Jesus Christ and Pontius Pilate, Jesus actually told Pontius Pilate that Pontius Pilate was not guilty for his crucifixion, because he was a politician. So he was doing what the people wanted him to do. So Jesus and God have never been in politics. That's the thing. There was a sister who said a lot of people read the Bible, but they interpret it wrongly. But when Pontius Pilate washed his hands, that was the spiritual meaning of the fact that he was free. Why is it that we as Africans and educated Africans keep trying to blame religion, keep trying to whatever? I have all sorts of religions in my family. I have Buddhists, I have Muslims, I have Christians. I have born agains and I have Catholics of those Christians in there. But yet we all get on well together. We can discuss our differences. We can discuss all sorts of things. We have no problems with those factions. There is no act of demagogy going on in the household. But yet in politics, people use it all the time, particularly in Africa, to incite fear in other people. But did Jesus, when he came to earth, from what you read in the Bible, just forget that the Bible is supposed to be a holy book. Let's read it as a historical book. That's all, as a historical book. Did Jesus incite fear to make people believers? No, he didn't. Why are we always blaming religion, Christianity, Islam for all those things?
All right. I
To
think
go and
she's
have kidney
gone.
surgery.
Okay.
You understand? You go and have kidney surgery, and then you come back to your own country, yeah, where you know you cannot get an exclusive hospital to treat you of the ailment you went to treat in Europe, yeah? Why should you sit in power, be busy to squander the money, collect it, eat it, spend it for yourself and your family, but yet you never have a thought that, look at my people, yeah? I need to set up a hospital. How is that? I find that particularly annoying, and I find that particularly disappointing, to be very honest. Because I mean, how can you get into a plane, a helicopter to go and get your medical care when you know that your own country doesn't have? So why don't you build a hospital? Churches are there with this new style of pastors. Some of them have come out of jail. Then they will tell you that it was in jail they met Jesus, and suddenly they were called to the pulpit. But they're sitting there trying to rob you of your little 500 pounds you put aside for rent. You understand? To go and get limousines and private jets and God knows what not to show themselves. But at the end of the day, how are these people reading the Bible? Most people don't even know how to pay tithe. It's not everybody who sits in that has to pay the 10%. The 10% of tithe, if you have a pure man of God explain it to you, he will say to you that it's not all about money. Somebody can sweep the church. If you're too poor, pay even 1 penny, you can sweep the church. That's your tithe to God. You don't have to give money. The problem with Africans is that too many times you sit in these born again new style of churches and you never ever question these people. You never ever challenge these people. But I do. I will tell you that. I do. I have had many conflicts with a lot of born again churches because I have asked the pastor when I don't feel something in my heart. I have said to him, can you show me which part of the Bible says that I need to give you more than the 10% that was in my purse? I don't get. You understand? You challenge that pastor to show you that passage. You understand? Don't follow people blindly. You need to ask questions. Peter, Paul, Mark, whatever it was, even Judas Iscariot asked Jesus questions. So why should you be afraid to ask a common human being that you don't even know for sure has been called by God and is anointed by God to come and teach you the Bible? But yet this same person that you want to praise because he's a pastor is the same person who's sleeping with your wife or with your husband. How do you explain that? How do you explain that? That is just humanity. That is just humanity at play. Some people, most of the people who say they're not atheists, oh, let one of their relatives go and suffer from cancer and end up in hospital. Do you know the first thing that they do when they find out the situation is very serious? They will now start praying and go, please, God, if you keep my wife alive, I promise that I will attend church every Sunday. That's what every atheist does. So why are we blaming religion? People know that spirituality exists inside of themselves, but yet they keep carrying on, particularly Africans and a lot of Muslims keep carrying on praising their leaders, their pastors in the churches, like they're demigods, and they're not demigods, they're just human beings. They're just common mortals. The persons who are responsible for the state of Ghana, Nigeria, blah, 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 are our own leaders. The people who signed up to do the job and are not completing the job or doing that job, and yet we keep letting them get away with it time after time after time after time. It is now time for a revolution. You're tired of this rubbish. In Nigeria, the one person that I praise, Ayade, because he did what he said he would do. He set up the first social housing in Nigeria. He set up, a food farm and a warehouse to make sure that the people of Cross Rivers do not go hungry. And that was the best way that he spent his palliative. This guy was transparent to a T, is one of the best governors. If Africa had more people like him and Kagame and these other presidents, other countries that have evolved and educated their people, even the president of Malaysia, who decided that after colonialization, he needed to have these people educated for free. And that's what he did when the colonials went. Africa would be a much better place. But now Africa needs us. Do you know that right now, as things stand, Grace, the money that people in diaspora send to Nigeria right now, yeah, we could all buy shares in Nigeria to pay off the debts that they owe the World Bank.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Yes.
We could actually buy shares in our own country from the continent and pay off the World Bank if that is the problem that is doing Buhari. Because if Buhari can't do the math, then we can sort it out for him. Because what we send in Western Union to our families surpasses what Nigeria actually owes the World Bank. It's ridiculous. Stop blaming religion. Stop blaming things outside of yourself. Stop claiming there's a white Jesus there. As somebody who's had a near-death experience, I'll tell you something. There is no such thing as the pearly gates. That I'll tell you right now, when you die, it's an immediate transfer. It's either hell or heaven. There is no such thing. You are not having a discussion with anything or any power there about what you have done on earth or haven't done on earth. It's an immediate transfer. And I know because I died and rose from the dead. So I know this.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one. I've had the same experience, but I'll have to disagree with you.
I was the only one, my darling. I didn't say I was the only one, but I'm just saying it for the people, who put it in the comments. Okay. I am just saying it for the people who put comments in the comments there that were very inappropriate.
Because there's some of them, especially that Congo guy, is literally just like, some of them are just, I don't know. But what I will say is that I personally believe Earth is hell. Earth is hell. If you look at the prayer, Our Father, who art in heaven, holy be your name, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. There is no mention of hell. There's no mention of hell in any prayer. In any of the Lord's Prayer, there's no mention of it. This is our hell. This is our hell. There's no other hell. It's this and heaven. That's it, as far as I'm concerned. But going back to what you mentioned before, when you said that you don't have a problem with your colonizers, I just thought to myself, how can you not have an issue with them when they've taken so much from us? They've taken our minerals, they've taken our gold, they've taken our diamond, and look how we are, look at our country. And I agree with us, yeah, the problem kind of does start with our government. Our government is corrupt. Our government is corrupt. But slowly, through this pandemic, they're slowly starting to wake up, some of them anyways. I don't know if they're genuine in their actions and their words, but some of them are slowly waking up. And I also agree with you with the tithing business. I've never agreed with it. I have never, ever, ever agreed with it. I've never agreed with the fact that I must give you my hard-earned money so you can wear Gucci, Louis Vuitton in the podium when you're preaching, and back home in my fridge, I have nothing to eat to feed my children. I have never believed in that. That's not godly. There's nothing godly about that. There's nothing godly about giving your hard-earned money to somebody and then they're there showing you their riches while you can't even afford shoes for yourself. That doesn't make no sense. I'm sorry, it really doesn't.
Of course, I agree with you. It doesn't make any sense. At the end of the day, the reason why I have no issue with it is that, as it is said, a fool and his money are soon parted. And the problem with our ancestors was that they were very naive when they let those idiots come in. Okay? They undersold things, and we were taken for a ride. Yeah, Botswana woke up and put up the price of its diamonds to be able to develop their country to what it is now. The problem with Nigeria is in the 70s and the 80s, it was actually the elephant of Africa. It was so well developed and so advanced, yeah, that right now I don't even understand the destruction. That's part of my vexation, because I don't understand how everything went to pot like that. Yeah, who closed their eyes, who slept whilst the white man came? You put up the price of things. That's why I said last time when Grace had a program, I said the best thing that has happened to Africa right now is COVID-19, because it has now woken up a lot of our leaders and a lot of our people to the importance of the fact that petrol is not worth anything. Now, it's not worth anything. You can drink it, you can dance in it, you can bathe with it. Nobody is going to need that petrol for a long, long time. Now we have to concentrate on real issues. Agriculture was what our ancestors used to do, and that's what we need to go back to. That's the new black gold. Okay? I don't have time to waste my time about white people. I have my personal feelings about them. I grew up with them. I have my personal feelings about them. And I'll tell you something. It's not 100% love. Okay? Because I'm not blind to what is going on. It's not 100% love. But instead of expanding my energies, worrying about my enemy, I would rather worry about how I can make my country a better country. I wonder what I can do investment-wise to help with the unemployment situation. I wonder what I can do with the little money I've saved that I can use when I go back home to educate my people who are disadvantaged. You understand? Because I don't have all that energy to waste. Because when you waste too much time looking at what your neighbor is doing, then you lose sight of what you should be doing. That's what I mean by I don't have time to worry about the colonizers. Yeah? It's up to the government to put up the price of our minerals to what it is really worth. You understand? We have the internet right now. They can look at the stock market. They can look at the prices at which they sell those minerals. From Congo, they get the ores to actually do computers and mobile phones and everything else. Yeah. So if you look at the current market prices of those things, you can set your own prices for that. They want it, then they need to pay for it. You understand? Because it's a bit ridiculous that a star that sits in Europe can go to a jewelry shop and go and buy a pair of diamonds for 40 million pounds and not think about it. So if then a normal government can put up its prices to help its people and its own nation to grow. That's my point.
I didn't know my microphone was on here. So thank you all so much for your contributions. I can see Charles is back. We are trying to round up this conversation. We've been up for 3 hours and counting. So we are trying to round up. Thank you so much for tuning in, for your contribution. for the donations and all. I appreciate every one of you. You are all amazing. I think what we are going to do now is to try to discuss ways forward. So, well, some of us are of the opinion that religion is a problem. Some of us are of the opinion that religion is not the problem. But all in all, how can we move forward as a continent? How can we effect changes across the various sectors of the economy so that we can have a better Africa, more developed, and it's equipped to serve us better. So I'm going to start with Aunt Flo. Then we'll go around. So, Aunt Flo, let's have your take. What can we do? How can we effect change? Are you there? Okay. If you can't hear, let's
Sorry,
have Nat. Nat, let's have you. Let's have your Nat.
Sorry, guys, I have to go. I've just got a phone call from a family member, so I have to go. But enjoy the discussion. This has been a lovely discussion. I've really enjoyed it. Take care of each other and yourself.
thank you.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Nat. Charles Ekubutu. Charles is on the road. Thank you so much, Charles, for staying through this
Yeah,
conversation. No,
thank you.
Charles, hold on. He just came back, so hold on. Charles has been here for a long time. So Charles Ekukutu. By the way, Charles also has a channel. That is Charles Ekukutu. Oh, he's gone off. Okay. Charles who? Okay, Charles Ekukutu is coming back. Yes, Charles is back. So Charles also has a channel, and that's it. Charles Ekukutu. So Charles, give us your final words. What can we do differently?
Okay. Well, it has been a very interesting and engaging conversation. I think I like forums like this because I have learned a thing or two. Because if you don't have experience, you cannot learn. But what we can do going forward is that, first of all, we have to stop the blame. We have to accept responsibility, and we have to look inwards. We have to look at African solutions to African problems. And most importantly, we have to hold our leaders accountable because we give us too much leeway. We need to educate ourselves. History is important and so many other things. And we need to engage ourselves much more politically. A lot of African youth they are not politically engaged. They are only engaged when it comes to rigging. They are only engaged when it comes to snatching of ballots. But we have to change that narrative. Political engagement is one of the surest way of achieving change, because if you do not have the power, the political power, you can never achieve that change that you want. So let us look beyond accusations. Let us look beyond who is the cause of our problems. Let us say, these are the steps that we want to take going forward. We want to educate ourselves. We want to, if there is technology that we need to acquire, wherever we can acquire it from, we want to acquire those technology. We want to use it. Then we have to develop values. This is where the family comes into play as well. The families need to teach their children values that are progressive, values that would help the society to function. When all these things are in place, then no one is going to bother whether a pastor is telling people to do this or do that. But it's because people are disillusioned, people are looking for solutions, people are looking for solutions to problems. That is why they flood these religious houses, which take so much advantage of them. So those are just my little thoughts about the conversation we've had today, and I'm very, very happy to have been a part of this conversation.
All right, thanks, Charles. Charles also has a YouTube channel. Since he's driving, he can't do it himself, so I'm going to drop his channel link in the
Thank you very
so
much,
that you
Grace.
can subscribe to his channel as well and go show him some love. Charles is an amazing friend. He also has a lot of insightful conversations on his channel. So I'll drop his link so you can join him.
My conversations are
All
also
right.
eccentric as well. So
Yeah. So Charles, thanks, Charles Ekukutu. So for now, I'm going to mute your microphone, Charles Ekukutu, since you are driving. Charles, who? Let's have
Oh,
your take.
thank you very, very much. Thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me to this forum. As Charles rightly said, this is it's wonderful to have opportunities like this to learn. I've learned a lot from everybody, including those who have been very, very active in the comment section. And thank you very much for that. From my own humble perspective, by no means an exhaustive list of solutions. The first one, I think, is to teach ourselves the true history. You know, some wise person said that history is, are the myths that we tell ourselves about ourselves, right? Myths in the sense that if you tell yourself that you are a prince and you ought to behave like a prince, then you are going to act, in that same vein, right? In a manner that shows that, in a manner that shows a level of a heightened level of behavior, as it were. Now, if you don't tell yourself that you are as good as you are, then you're going to behave as bad as others have told you you are. And so we have to teach our children the right history about themselves, about our our achievements of the past, about our greatness, and about just generally all the things we've contributed in the world. This is going to give us the platform to know that we can actually change the situation that we find ourselves in presently. And how do we go forward changing that situation? As I mentioned before, a society that makes decisions based on facts is a society that can then begin to utilize all the situations and all the resources and everything around it to get out of or to make progress, right? I mentioned previously that one of just an anecdotal situation where we had evil forest and somebody came from another place who was using the scientific method and said, oh, I want to go find out what is really in that evil forest, and ended up maybe finding some sort of resources, right? That was really the story almost everywhere in South America as well, which suffered colonization as well, and so on and so forth. So what we can learn from this, and what we can learn from the progress that has been made by people in the East, the Chinese, the Japanese, and so on, who also, to an extent, had a level of incursion into their places, is that if we can adopt a fact-based method of decision making, we can begin to look at our problems, truly study our problems, and understand what the solutions are, right? Try out those solutions and then record the results, and then see if the results are working, and either take a different direction or double down on those particular solutions. And this is how we begin to then solve these problems. If we can get down to fact-based decision making, then we can stop being swayed by people who show us a Bible or a Quran and say that person who doesn't follow this religion that I follow is your enemy and therefore you should fight him, or that person who is not from your tribe is your enemy, therefore you should fight him, or those black people who are from that other country are your enemies, so we should fight them, and so on and so forth. If we can know our history and use facts to make our decisions on the progress, use facts to make decisions and make policies and so on and so forth, we can begin to make progress in our country and in the continent in general. That's my own, once again, very humble submission. Thank you very much for giving me the time.
All right. Thank you so much, Charles. And Charles also has a YouTube channel. So Charles, you can drop your channel link, right? Since you
Yeah,
are
I will.
okay. All right, do so.
Thank
Drop it in the chat room so that they can go support you. He, like he earlier said, he's a project management consultant, so he does trainings as well. I'm sure you also do virtual trainings now that we've gone digital across the world. So
Yes,
definitely check
yes,
his channel
definitely.
out.
Yeah.
Yes, so there's no limitation, in terms of space.
Thank you.
Aunt Flo, let's have your take. Your
Well,
final
my
word.
take is that we should just stop blaming other people and other things, and we need to start taking responsibility. We have a workforce, we have potential kings and queens of industry in diaspora and even within Africa itself. We are the solution to Africa's problems because we've had the education that our ancestors didn't have to make the place a much better place. And if we never stop dreaming of improving our country and we never stop believing that we can all go home and contribute our own little seed to improve our own countries. When we vote, we need to look at the values of our leaders. We need to look at the evidence and the antecedents that they've set up before they came to present themselves before us, telling us or trying to convince us that they will improve the country, which they end up disappointing us in and never improving. Get rid, don't vote for them. Even if they bribe you with a car, don't vote for them. Vote for the right person to help Africa advance. Stop blaming the white man. It is too much energy. It is too much energy. It is a waste of time. Let's start finding the solution to the problem. And the solution right now is those of us who have and who can. As soon as planes can land us there and you are ready to leave the white country you work for, go home, set up an industry, be the best leader that you can be the best employer that you can be, and start changing things. After all, it only takes one step to change things and one person. Don't let anybody else tell you that your dream is impossible, because there is possible in the impossible. But thanks for having me.
All right, thank you, Aunt Flo. Thank you for coming. On that note, as I'll say thank you to every one of you for tuning in for almost 4 hours. I appreciate it so much. And for all the guests who came up on the panel, thank you for your very, very valued contributions. So the summary of it is, first, we have to stop blaming others for our failings as a people on the African continent. We should start taking responsibility, and we should hold our leaders accountable, because we elected them and put them there to serve us, to serve our interests, and to push for development of our countries and the continent. So we should hold them accountable. Most importantly, we have our own roles to play as citizens of the various countries in Africa. We have the right to vote, the responsibility to vote the right people based on their antecedents and the potential, the capacity, and the value they have to offer. So basically, that's it. That's what we've been discussing all the while. So thank you all so much again for all your donations. Thank you for all your active participations, your comments in the chat room. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it. I might do another stream tomorrow, but if I'm going to do that, definitely I'll schedule it earlier on enough so that all of you can see and get the notification so you can prepare on time. I'll definitely do one on Sunday, the usual one I do. I have a professional coming up to have conversation with me that day, so definitely get yourselves ready. I appreciate you all so much. I'll see you in my next video or my next stream. Thank you. Like I said, don't forget to go support Charles on his channel. I'm going to drop it again one more time. Thank you all. I appreciate you. I can't stop saying thank you. I love you all so much. I'll see you. Until then, be safe, be healthy, and definitely be law abiding. Bye. Mwah.